Put that somewhere. So welcome back to HPP, the podcast that covers college basketball and the NBA draft inside and out. I am Rich Harris, and thank you for joining us again. Today we are joined by Jake Copestick, Ayad Booney, and Jordan Allen, who I will introduce in a second. Jordan is joining us for the College Notebook today. He is the founder of Rising Stars Scouting, which is all about building great relationships, gathering key intel and information, scouting reports in a podcast format, and finding under-the-radar prospects in high school and college. Jordan attended Portsmouth Invitational last week, and we asked him to come on the show and share his observations. Jordan, thanks so much for joining us today. How's the weather in Toronto?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate you bringing me on. The weather's okay. It's, in the high 50s. So, not too bad, but not great yet.
All right. So I was telling the guys before we came on air, we had a running feud with some Raptors fans when we first started the podcast. So you're the first friendly Canadian face we've ever seen on the show.
Well, I mean, I try to take the fan out of me, so.
Right. Are you a Raptors fan?
Yeah, I am.
How are they doing in the playoffs? That's a joke.
I know. Great joke. Thanks for reminding me.
All right. So before we get into Portsmouth, why don't you tell us a little bit about Rising Stars Scouting?
Sure. So I started Rising Stars Scouting this year, officially hit the ground running. Prior to this year, there's a lot of things that you have to do in order to make sure your business is set up for success and, all the legalities and structure and all that. So I made sure all of that was in place before I hit the ground running this year. And so basically what I've done with Rising Star Scouting is I've made a platform / subscription where NBA teams or college programs can access all of my scouting reports in a podcast format and speak to me about any intel that I gather, on both levels, for college and high school. And as you mentioned earlier, Rich, when you introduced me, I am all about finding under the radar prospects because, as we all know here, everybody knows about the main guys, especially even, the first round picks and most of the second round picks. So I like to dive in deep and find guys that potentially could play in the NBA or long shots or guys that, are really being overlooked that maybe should be drafted higher than expected.
Right. So let me get this straight. You charge money for what we give out for free.
I mean, essentially.
I knew I was doing something wrong, and now I finally figured it out.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, I try to get some really key intel with, all my connections and, dive in deep because the one thing that, I can tell you is that NBA teams in particular want intel. That is something that they don't want to have to go, really deep into because they're so busy with everything else. So, that's where my service comes in and takes away that pain point. And as a result, providing them with the necessary information.
Right. Okay. So let's move on to Portsmouth. What were your general impressions of the event? Was it well organized? Did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, Portsmouth was great. They do a fantastic job organizing the event. It's first class. It's very professional. Tons of NBA guys are there. College guys, scouts, agents, you name it. Tons of people, you can easily network with there because it's a relaxed environment. Right. So basically, it's about 15 to 20 minutes outside of downtown Portsmouth. So it's at a gym called Churchland High School, and everybody goes there. It's an historic place because that's where it originated. That's where it all started. And everybody knows when you say Portsmouth, that's where you're going to be. And it has a cool feel to it. The high school gym, you have to be there to feel it and understand where I'm coming from. But it's just a first class event that, does have some good prospects. I'm not going to say all of them are NBA guys, but there were a couple that are potential NBA guys. Maybe 2, 3, 4, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah. I would think that, a lot of those guys will probably a majority of them will be playing professionally somewhere. Most of them G League or Europe, but some of them will be in the NBA. I agree.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a few different reasons why they would be NBA guys or why they wouldn't be. And, just from being at the event, you understand why, some NBA teams are higher than on other guys versus, other guys in the tournament. And then there's some guys that, NBA teams don't like at all. And they're very honest about it. Like just with the guys that I was talking to, they were very honest about who they liked, who they were high on. So, that's another thing is, when guys like that are in a relaxed environment, it's easier to talk to them. It's easier to get them to tell you things that they may not necessarily tell you, in other settings. That makes sense.
I hope one of them wasn't Danny Ainge, because he's infamous for going around telling people one thing and feeling absolutely the opposite. Markelle Fultz, he told everybody privately, he told them he loved Markelle Fultz. Anyway, so which players impressed you the most and why?
So I'm going to go with the first guy, and it might be obvious, but again, I have to be honest and just tell you what I saw. Hunter Tyson. So he already shoots like a pro, in my opinion. Especially when you watch him up close. His mechanics, his release are at an NBA level already. And when he gets going, it's tough to stop him. I mean, he was hitting contested threes with ease. He's pretty quick as well with his footwork and getting to his spots. But the main thing that I took away from watching Hunter Tyson is he's an ultimate competitor. He's emotionally involved in a good way. He wants to win. He's a good teammate. And he just is all in. And he'll do whatever it takes to win. So even though he may be on fire, he's still going to make that winning play, whether it's a pass, whether it's setting a screen, whether it's making a layup. He's very smart in making sure that his decisions are impacting his team, resulting in a win.
Okay. We've talked about Hunter a lot on the show. Booney, especially Booney and I, we both really like him a lot. Who else impressed you?
So Jabari Rice was one of the guys that really impressed me. He had a bit of a slow start to the tournament, in terms of what he brings to the table. But he ended up being the MVP of the PIT. So he showcased his skill. One thing that a lot of people may not know about Jabari Rice or notice is that he's actually a very good passer. He made a lot of thread the needle-esque passes where you just say to yourself, how did he make that pass? How did he know that, his teammate was going to be in that spot? He's very good at knowing where they're going to be 3 steps ahead of the defender. And that's one thing that I think goes unnoticed with Jabari Rice, because it's not something that you would necessarily focus on, but I noticed it when I was watching him throughout the tournament. Another thing about Rice is he's quick. Like he gets to his spots very quick. He's pretty athletic. He attacks the rack aggressively. The one thing I'll say about Rice, and that he really needs to improve upon, is making sure that he's stronger, that he adds muscle mass. I want to say 20 pounds to start. In my opinion, you never want to add more than 20 pounds in an off season, because then it becomes too much and your body's not used to
Right.
a lot more muscle mass, if that makes sense. So, he needs to add at least 20 more pounds, in my opinion. And then honestly, he's going to be a force. From the guys I was talking to, he's going to be invited to the NBA draft combine in Chicago coming up. I believe it's May 15th or 14th, somewhere around that date. And he's going to have a chance to get drafted, near the end of the second round.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that's for sure.
No, I agree. We talked about him a couple weeks ago in the show, and we were saying that we thought he was a legitimate second round candidate.
Yeah, no, he definitely is. And, if he impresses everybody at the draft combine, then you never know. He could be, drafted in the 40s or, 50s. I mean, it depends, right? But he could go as high as, early 40s if he really impresses everybody at the draft combine. NBA guys do put a lot of stock into that, especially for players that maybe don't have as much notoriety and, that.
And he'll definitely be one of the
success.
guys as a second round candidate. He'll definitely be one of the guys playing on the court too. So we'll get to see that. One note I'd like to say about Rice,
Sure.
if you notice in our script, I just out of curiosity last night, I charted the top 5 or 6 in vertical shuttle, lane in sprint, and also the 5 or 6 worst in each event. And Sir Jabari Rice was the only person here that's listed 3 times. And I think his vertical would have been, if I would have gone a little deeper on vertical, he would also made the list for that. So if you look at this as a whole, it would seem like, in the athletic testing portion, he was probably the best performer there, as well as being on the court.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, one of the things I'll say though, just quickly going back to Hunter Tyson, he got injured
right
in the second game.
Ankle, right?
Yeah, so it's a slight ankle sprain. I spoke with the person / trainer who was taking care of his injury, and they said it's just a slight sprain, but he wasn't going to play for the rest of the tournament, which is too bad because he was, as I said, he really lit it up. But back to Rice, is he was actually able to show improvement because he played all 3 games.
Right.
So that's the difference there. In my opinion, I think if Hunter Tyson plays all 3 games, he probably would have won MVP.
Interesting.
I mean, yeah, he was really cooking. Other guys that I was impressed with was Tamani Kamara from Dayton.
Sure.
He's big. He's physical. He can shoot the perimeter shot. He can post up as well. That's actually something that I didn't realize he was as good at throughout the season, but he definitely showed in Portsmouth that he's a force down low and tough to guard in the low post primarily. Kamara is also a decent defender. He competes. He can guard 1 through 4. He's not afraid to take on that challenge. He'll even guard the 5. He's not great at it, but he can limit them to some degree. But again, the one thing that I took away from Kamara is he's not afraid of a challenge. He's not afraid to compete against guys that are better. He's not afraid to compete against guys that are bigger and stronger than him, even though he's pretty strong himself. The one thing I'll say about Kamara is sometimes his shot selection get it out of hand, where he thinks he can just hit every shot some games. It doesn't happen all the time, but I remember there was one game he started off 3 for 13 and, just putting up everything. I think that's something that he's really got to work on prior to going to the NBA. But having said that, there's a lot of tools and skills that he possesses that NBA guys like,
Right.
including myself. And he is a guy that probably will be drafted near the end of the second round. I don't want to say for sure, but I think he probably has a good chance.
Well, the thing with Kamara, he was a pretty highly regarded prospect coming out of high school. And the two things with him that have always been a concern are his basketball IQ and his consistency in terms of effort and just consistency in general. But yeah, definitely the talent, the physical talent is there. But yeah, I agree. So on the other side of the coin, who did you go in thinking this guy's, I'm really excited to look at this guy, and they didn't impress you?
That's actually a good question, because I don't know if I'd be able to pick one guy.
So many disappointed you?
Well, I don't want to say so many, but I mean, honestly, I'll say this. The first guy that disappointed me was Justyn Suing.
Okay.
Justice Suing.
Yeah.
I thought he would be much better. I still like him as a potential NBA guy because of his body, his strength,
athleticism,
his IQ, but he didn't impress me because he didn't show a lot in terms of his offensive ability. So I thought he would do more. I was excited to see him dominate Portsmouth, but he didn't. And again, I understand it was only 3 games, so I have to take that for what it is. But another guy I would say that I was, excited to see, because I thought he would be even better, is Mike Bothwell. He was solid, but he wasn't as good as I thought he'd be. And I was excited to watch him at the PIT. I thought maybe, coming off that March Madness, small run with Furman, that would, elevate his game, but it did not.
Right. And I think that, that is where Pitt really, really helps people like you and I and Jake and Booney, is that, we do get to see Sir Jabari Rice play against his best peers, but we don't get to see a guy like Bothwell do it that often. And so that's where it's nice to see how these guys stack up when they're playing against, like Big 12 competition, Big 10 competition. So right now on our draft board, and I just want to, so we don't get any more people yelling at us via email, our current draft board will be updated soon. But so I'm reading off the draft board that I have on my computer, not the draft board that's posted on the website right now, which is about 6 weeks old. So at the event, the guys that we had highest, and the guys that I would suspect, and still do suspect, that they will get invited to one of the combines, be it the elite camp or the NBA combine, was Tavian Smith, Hunter Tyson, who you mentioned, Demoy Hodge, and I can't say that. I'm just going to say Jabari Rice. Jabari Rice. So now we talked about 2. So Kinsey and Hodge. Now, right behind them, and I thought, going in, that these guys also would have a chance, would be Cam Shelton, Tyree Appleby, Justyn Mutts, and Kamara. So out of those 8, who do you see being invited to the combines, and which would then automatically kind of make him a viable, draft prospect? I mean, viable second-round candidate.
Yeah. So Hunter Tyson, as you mentioned, he'll be invited, most likely. Kamara as well. Hodge has a good chance. I'm not 100% sure he's going to be invited, but he definitely has a good chance. Cam Shelton, I'd be shocked if he was invited. He did not show me anything that would allow me to believe he's an NBA prospect or, anything close to that as of right now. I was not impressed with him at all. He's also small, right? And as you
Hey,
guys
six
know,
two, 6'2", yeah. He's bigger than
right?
He's bigger than Appleby.
Right. And that's the issue with Appleby. He's just too small. Unfortunately, because of that, he can't play at the NBA level. He's not going to be able to guard anyone.
About the same size as Chris Paul, though he's not
Yeah,
Chris
but
Paul.
I know,
They went to the same school too.
I know, but Chris Paul's an exception,
Right. Right.
Rich.
How about
Right.
Kinsey?
Well,
What do you think of Kinsey? Tavion.
What's that?
What do
you
you
would
think of Tavion?
Kinsey.
Yeah, so I think Kinsey's an interesting prospect. I thought he was good this year. But
Oh, he was statistically he was tremendous.
he was. He's athletic. He has the ability, to get to the rack with ease. Some of the time, though, he hesitates on his jumper. I noticed that at the PIT, and that kind of turned me off a little bit. Having said
You mean
that,
he has a hitch in his shot, or he hesitates
he just
to take it?
hesitates to shoot.
Well, if you look at his statistics over his career, they are wildly inconsistent.
I know.
From three, it's just amazing how inconsistent he's been. So obviously,
He improved a lot, though. I mean,
he did this year, but he went up. He went up, then he went down, then he went back up again. So he's been all over the place during his 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm a big Kinsey guy, I guess.
I like him.
I think it's if he does not get drafted, he's going to get picked up eventually. Yes. And I see him I think he's going to be an NBA star.
I think he's going to get invited to one of the combines.
So
he might. I don't know. The guys I was talking to, they didn't think so, but again, that could change. A lot of the guys I was talking to, they were saying that Kinsey's probably like a 10-day exhibit NBA guy, will mostly spend most of his time in the G League. That's what I gathered, and I do agree with that. It's going to take him time if he does get a chance to actually play in the NBA as a role player. It's going to take time because, as I said, he's got to prove himself to be a consistent shooter.
Right.
That's the main concern.
And that's the problem with everybody at Pitt. Everybody at Pitt is 23, 24 years old.
Yeah.
And if they still haven't ironed out the problems, that is kind of a red flag.
Let me ask you a question. Is he a top 10 just athleticism guard in the country right now, Kinsey? Just athleticism.
I don't
know if I'd say top 10, but I would say top 20.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you guys were talking, and the general consensus in public with regard to what you guys are saying about Kent is right on. I vehemently disagree with that. But again, that's why they.
Well, see, the thing with Kinsey is he has tremendous vertical. They didn't even measure. They don't measure max vertical at Pitt because standing vertical is the more important number. But he had the second best standing vertical. That's what really stands out about Kinsey is his dunks. And so, he's definitely a highlight reel. But let me ask you about one more guy and then we'll move on.
Sure.
We just had Justyn Mutts on the show earlier today. I know, Justyn 7'3" wingspan. How do you like that? 6'7" with shoes, 7'3" wingspan, had the best shuttle time at the event. Justyn, of course, proven cutter, proven inside scorer, proven high post passer. The question is, can he shoot? What do you think of Justyn?
Yeah, I think Justyn shows, different elements of his game where, you can say are different than other guys. And one thing that you mentioned was the wingspan. So he's able to cover a lot of ground, both sides of the floor. And as a defender, it's very helpful for him, especially when he's dialed in and he's guarding guys tightly. He's able to use that wingspan to his advantage. Now, as a scorer, I didn't see as much as I wanted to from him in the PIT. But having said that, I think he has potential to be, a good scorer. I would just say, he's just got to take more shots. I think, in my opinion, he relies too much on his inside game, in the low post, in the mid post, getting, attacking the rack and stuff like that. I think, he should be more confident in taking mid-range shots and perimeter shots because he has the body for it. He has the athleticism for it. And that's just to say, what he can improve upon. But as I said, his length, his size is definitely two things that I would say, are very good skills and, qualities to have, as a player. And the thing I like about Mutts too is he really competes on the glass and right at both ends of the floor. So that's something that I noticed and was impressed with is his motor and just his relentless physical battles under the basket.
Right. I'm hoping you could clear up an issue for us. And
Sure.
I've asked numerous people, SIDs who have their kid, at Pitt, and for Kamara is a perfect example. Dayton told me before the event that he had not made a decision whether he's coming back or staying in the draft. Now, Kamara and a handful of other guys were 4-year guys, meaning they still have one more year left if they want, if they choose. The question becomes, last year, Courtney Ramey got in trouble and had to miss the first few games of the season because he participated in Pitt. And so now some people, in fact, Brandon Carlson's father actually told me that he was told, Brandon was he's a 4-year senior at Utah. He didn't go to Pitt, even though he would have been a very likely candidate. I mean, like much better than Connor Vanover, for example. But he was told that if Brandon went to the event, that he would have trouble returning to school. Now, Dayton thinks just the opposite. So, and I've asked numerous SIDs at different schools, Ohio State, Sewing's there, but of course, Sewing's a 5-year guy, but I haven't got a clear answer. Nobody seems to know the answer. Do you know the answer?
Well, I do have a good idea in regards to how that works. So if you maintain your eligibility in college, but decide to declare for the draft and you attend the PIT, then you have to submit a waiver from what I understand. And then the NCAA has to approve that waiver if you decide to go back. Right. And that way they can say, okay, you're allowed to play. Now, I've heard it's difficult, but it's doable. It's not impossible, if that makes sense.
Well, now, what if you pay your own way and don't accept any benefits of any kind? Then it would be okay, right? Wouldn't it? Or no?
Well, no, you would still have to go through the process because when you attend the PIT, it's understood that you are a senior, right? So that you're not most likely returning to college. But as I said, if you want to, you can submit a waiver to the NCAA to say, I want to return to Dayton for Kamara's sake.
Right.
And that only applies if you you're maintaining eligibility.
Right.
If you didn't do that, then you're done.
Right. So I got one final question for you.
Sure.
Did you, who did you bump into the event? Throw out some names, be a name dropper. And what's the most interesting thing? You don't have to say who said it. Well, what's the most interesting thing, some draft scuttlebutt you heard?
Okay. So, guys I ran into the event, Brent Berry.
Yeah.
So ran into him, very nice guy. Spoke to him for a while. I ran into Mitch Kupchik's son, Max. So he's the manager of basketball operations for the Hornets. Does a great job. Who else did I run into? I didn't run into him, but I did see Michael Finley was there. Nico Harrison was there from the Mavs. Trying to think who else.
Was Mike Schmitz there?
No, I didn't. Well, I didn't see him. He may have been. I didn't see him. I did run into Bobby.
We're still mad at him because we had one of our guys go out to Basketball Without Borders. He said he was going to give us a follow on Twitter, and he didn't. So he's in big time trouble.
No. I've only heard good things about Mike Schmitz. Give him a chance. Seriously, I actually know. I met someone at the event actually who knows him well, and Mike's a great guy from what I understand.
Yes,
don't hold it against him.
I'm just joking.
I know you are. I'm just giving you trouble.
Before we move on to the notebook, let's roll that Justyn Mutts interview, who I spoke with just a few hours ago. Today's first special guest is Virginia Tech forward Justyn Mutts, a fifth-year senior who averaged 13.3 points, 7.4 rebounds, 4.6 assists, and 1.5 steals per game this season, while shooting 57% from the floor. In the ACC, he ranked in the top 10 for rebounds per game, assists per game, steals per game, field goal percentage, effective field goal percentage, and plus minus. He has been very busy since the season ended, participating in the Reese's D1 All-Star Game and then Portsmouth Invitational last week, as well as preparing for the 2023 NBA Draft. Justyn, it's great to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I feel amazing. Thank you for that really warm, welcome right there. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I've always been a big fan. You're my type of player. Love your versatility, your high motor, team play, and I think you are often been overlooked over the years. Also, we have three things at least in common. One, we're both Jersey boys. Two, we both lived in Newark, and I emphasize Newark, Delaware.
Yeah.
And three, we both have degrees in psychology.
Yeah.
And lastly, I think you may be the only person that I know that has more degrees than I do.
Dang. Well, I feel like there's a lot of hard work, for sure.
Yeah. Just run over that. I was reading them, and I actually, you have at least like 3 degrees, right?
Yeah, I have 3 degrees. I have a bachelor's degree and 2 masters.
Okay, excellent. I have 3 bachelors, so you got me beat. So how did Rutgers let you get away?
What was that?
How did Rutgers? Your dad played for Rutgers, right?
Yeah, he played for Rutgers Camden. I don't know. I didn't really get recruited by many Jersey schools. I guess I went through 3 different recruitment process. Either Seton Hall or Rutgers. Neither of those schools really reached out to me, or were persistent in their approach. So they're really good programs. They must be doing something right. So I don't know.
Yeah, but they still could have used you. That's for sure. Wow. So let's talk about Portsmouth a little bit. I believe your team finished 3rd in the tourney.
Yeah, we did. We lost in I guess you could say like the semifinal round.
Right.
Yeah, we had a really good team. We had an off game. It went to double overtime, but it was a lot of fun for sure.
Oh, nice. 2 of your teammates have been on the show, JT Shoemate and Cam Shelton.
Okay.
And your squad also featured Jelly Walker, Demoy Hodge, and Tanner Groves. So what was the overall experience like? Did you have fun?
Oh yeah, it was awesome. It was such a blessing just to be able to participate in such a showcase like that with so many great players, scouts everywhere, just to be able to show what we work on as individual players, outside of our team, kind of setting. It's different. Definitely took some, adapting for sure, but when you're playing with really good players, it makes it a lot easier just to be able to, kind of gel together. You mentioned JT. That was actually my roommate during the time that I was there. Just a great guy. Just had an awesome opportunity just to get to know him and just meet a bunch of different guys from all over the country.
Right. How many people there did you already know?
Oh, actually, it was surprisingly more than I expected. Just guys I've seen throughout, just basketball, just playing them or seeing them on TV, and I guess just recognizing them. And I guess it's like, kind of the same vice versa and stuff. So it's like a mutual respect kind of thing for everybody. And I mean, I always show love to anybody, and then people always show love back. So,
Right.
I mean, it's pretty easy to develop those relationships with people in those settings.
Right. So what would you say that you took away from there? What did you learn, and were you pleased with your performance?
Definitely was able to learn a lot. It was awesome just to be able to have those interview with a bunch of different NBA teams, just getting a lot of feedback and stuff like that about what I could do to be the most effective player that I could be at that next level. By their perspective on where I'm at, just continuing to develop and evolve my game. Showcase the things that I guess I'm decent at this point in time, and then just continue to try to get better. What was the last part? Oh, my performance about I didn't think I played too well. I didn't play bad per se, but I definitely felt as though I could have did a lot more, but I still feel as though I played really good defense. Super active. Made a lot of good plays for other guys. I just felt as though there were areas that I could have just did a lot better, but I don't feel like I hurt myself at all.
Right. Well, you measured 6'7", 230 with a 7'3" wingspan.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I mean, not to say that that's huge. That's 8 inches.
Yeah.
So that's a huge wingspan. So not only is that length impressive, but you also posted the best shuttle time at the event. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
So with length, lateral speed are obviously 2 key things that NBA scouts look for. So you must be pleased with those results, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm just grateful just to have had the opportunity just to showcase what I could do, there. I almost had the box one where you got to sprint, slide, backpedal, slide.
Right.
I had my second time that I got was I think that would have been top 5 out of the people on the list that also did it. But I faulted, I crossed my legs over. So the time I got didn't count. It only counted my first.
Oh, well, you know what? I just happen to have those. What would have been your time there?
It would have been a 10-8, but I wound up getting.
Okay, that would have put you 5th.
Yeah, so I think I got an 11-3 instead, but something like that.
Right.
And if I didn't fall, it would have been better. But no, for sure, just room for improvement. Just trying.
Yeah, that's the problem with those things. You only get a couple of tries, and
yeah, it's fair though. Everybody gets the same amount of tries. We all get the same warm up. So,
right. True. 4 of your 5 seasons, I don't know if you know this, you finished in the top of your conference, whatever conference it was, for defensive rating. Did it bother you that you never made an all defensive team in any conference?
Yeah, I would say that's something that's definitely gotten to me a little bit, but I just take it as just another reason just to go harder, to keep getting better on defense. There must be something that I didn't do, that I could do better for, the upcoming season. So just trying to learn. Yeah, I don't really know what defensive rating measures.
I don't know the exact numbers, but it is somewhat influenced by your team. But I think it's kind of like a plus minus. There is a defensive plus minus, which you also have done well in historically. But I actually don't know how it's measured, but it's usually a good indication, at least among your team. I'll give you an example. You guys this year, the Hokies, were more offensive oriented than typically. And you were really, really good offensive team, but you suffered on the defensive end. So this was the first year you didn't finish in the top 10 of your conference for defensive rating. But that's a good question. I'm going to have to look into it. It's a number that you kind of have to take with a grain of salt, but it's usually what you'll find is it's hard to compare somebody who plays for Virginia in a slow-paced offense to somebody who plays in a fast-paced offense, like say Creighton. It's hard to compare those two, but among your teammates, you can kind of see, okay, he was the best defensive player on his team, at least statistically. But,
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Wish I had a better answer for you, but I know it does have some use, but there's also limitations, like all statistics. All right. So you're a rather unique player, and I think that's one of the things that's always drawn me to you. And you're capable of contributing in a lot of ways, and especially as an inside scorer, passer, rebounder, defender. So how, for someone who hasn't seen you, how would you describe your game? And is there an NBA player out there that you think you're kind of similar to?
Yeah. I guess I would describe my game as a versatile point forward. I guess I would say like pass first. But yeah, I would definitely say the versatile. And then I guess a player who I would try to aspire to have an impact like would be like a Draymond, somebody who just does everything.
Yes, very much.
That'd be a big influence. But I'm trying to expand my game a little bit more, and just be able to knock down, open shots, be willing, ready, and able to, just catch and shoot. It just adds a new dimension to your game, and that's really just been the main feedback I've been getting from teams. That if I can add that consistently, I'd be able to carve out a good career for myself.
Right. Another guy who came to mind, and I think he only played one season, but in college, Otto Porter played a lot like you.
Mm-hmm.
And now, of course, he's changed his game. He's more of a 3-and-D guy.
Yeah.
But he played a ton out of the high post at Georgetown.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of the post, at Virginia Tech, you played a lot in the post, and a lot of your assists came, points and assists came from in or around the paint. And there's a good chance in the NBA you won't be used in the same way. For example, like your team, was one of the top cutting teams in the NBA. And of course, we know post play isn't so common in the NBA. So is that a concern for you, or you think you're capable, ready to adapt?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel as though my impact on the game goes far beyond just having the ball in my hands. I feel like you can operate a lot out of that, the mid-post area for sure. And like I just mentioned, expanding my game more and just being willing to get off the ball, space the floor, being like you said, a 3-and-D guy. I feel like that's my role at the next level, as opposed to being a primary playmaker out of the post. I don't really see that being my role, and especially not initially when I'm just trying to, make a role for myself. I just got to make sure I'm doing all the right things, making the right choices, right reads and stuff, and just taking advantage of opportunities when they come. I don't anticipate that being a tough transition at all. I already kind of moving into that space now. It's more of a mental change than it is anything else.
Right. Get your agent to talk to Golden State. I was just curious, because you guys were one of the top cutting teams in the country. Okay. And the leading NBA team that uses cuts is Draymond's team, Golden State. So he'd be a good person to learn from.
Yeah. Awesome. Be able to step into that role and just kind of be mentored by the player whose shoes I hope to fill. I feel like that'd be a blessing.
Just don't step on anyone.
Hey, look.
So as you prepare for your team workouts and the combines, what aspects of your game are you working on the most right now?
Yeah, just continuing to get up reps, shots. I'm really comfortable with my shot form. I feel like I have a good form. I'm just consistent with it, continuing to get up reps, gain more confidence, continuing to work on my reads, just make better decisions. Just make much better decisions. And a lot of that just comes with being willing and ready to shoot the ball first and foremost. And then, being a good screener, rebounder. We're continuing to work on every aspect of my game, really. But I think defense and, making it the most important right now. Is open shots, threes, mainly threes. I don't really, but yeah, to answer your question.
Right. Yeah. So you said you've already talked to NBA teams. So this was the same question I asked Cam Shelton just before he left for Portsmouth. So it's a little different. for you because you're already gone through the process. He hadn't talked to any NBA teams yet. But my question was to him was pretend that this is an NBA interview and sell me on your strengths and how you will help my team. But what did you say to them? What did you say? This is what I can do. This is what I'm strong at. This is the type of guy you're getting.
Yeah, just a great locker room guy, just a great program person, someone who could help build up, something that's, a real pro. I feel like a lot of NBA teams sometimes just build a team just for that year. But then there's a lot of teams that also just build programs that are like longer lasting. They try to build dynasties, over extended periods of time. And a lot of that comes with like being able to develop true relationships with the guys in your program. I feel as though just personality wise, I'm just somebody who is easy to have around and like, in the locker room and amongst like the office, on the floor, like, super competitor. I feel like I'd say a lot of the teams already know who you are, and they just want to know more about your personality than anything else.
Right.
They know you. They know your game. They know how you play. Most likely, they've done all the background research on you too. So, I guess it's less trying to sell yourself and more just trying to get to know them and them trying to get to know you. That's how they work for me, at least.
Right. So, looking back at college, what are some of your most memorable moments?
I got blessings and just huge memories at every stop I had. I'm super grateful for all of them. I think you'll never forget the confetti falling with last year when we got our rings. That was crazy. Just I remember yelling into the microphone during the what game was the West Virginia game. I was on the field, the football field, just doing the "Let's Go" chant. I don't know. There's a lot of different memories that like I'll hold on to forever. I'm just super grateful to have had them. Super grateful to have been able to go to college and have these experiences. Debt free. Be able to do all that without having to worry about paying it off. Just to be able to play basketball. So.
Right. And what will you miss the most about college?
The people that I met, all the amazing people that I've just come across and had the opportunity to meet, just have conversations with people, especially out here in Blacksburg. People really show love. I was grateful enough to spend 3 years here, developing a base, feels like a family here. So I'm definitely gonna miss the people a lot. My teammates, my coaches, everybody.
Right. And speaking of one of those teammates, Grant Basile announced last week that he's taking a little bit of an alternative route. Did he try to take you with him to Italy?
I can't say he tried to take me with him, but yeah, I feel as though he's in a good position, where he's at. I'm really excited for him with everything he has going on. He's such a good player. So I feel like wherever he ends up, he's going to do really well for sure. But
when we had him on, we have a segment we call Stock Rising and Stock Falling. Both of you you and Grant were on Stock Rising at different points in time. And when we talked about Grant, one of the things I said was, he is like a player who is perfect for Euro ball. And so it wasn't too surprising to me that he went that direction. Do you know what went into that? Why he chose to go that way as opposed to another year at Virginia Tech?
Man, you gotta get him on the show again and have him.
All right. I figured you'd say that. I'm just curious. All right. Last question. I know I've had a lot for you, but this is the last one. Can you share something with us that most people who are not close to you, just your general fan, would not know about you?
I'm pretty good at juggling. I can.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
Yeah, I got you.
All right. That's good to know. That's good hand-eye. All right, Justyn. As I said, I've always appreciated your game and enjoyed watching you play. Gonna miss you in college, but hopefully we see you a lot at the next level. And please, come back and visit us at some point next season. And if you have the time, you probably won't, but the invitation's open for you to come back anytime to talk.
Okay, well, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on today. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and good luck moving forward with your workouts in the combines and all that good stuff. Wishing you the best.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. All right, take care, Justin. Gonna move on to the rest of our college notebook, which even though we did this 2 days ago, Jake, it's still we have 1,000 things to talk about and not a lot of time to do it. So I guess the biggest I'm going to do these in chunks, guys, and then you can comment. But I'll read off the latest transfer portal signings. Going to UNLV, 3 guys: Caleb Boone, Keelan Boone, and Jalen Hill. Now, of the 3, Caleb Boone is the top NBA prospect of the 3, and we've talked about the Boone twins recently on the show. MJ Rice, McDonald's All-American, I believe, correct? Had a very quiet season at Kansas, didn't play a lot, is going to NC State. Darius Maddox was kind of a spark plug off the bench for Virginia Tech, like their 6th man. He's going to George Mason. Chris Leadham he's done his 4 years at Harvard. He's Mr. Do Everything. He was first team all-conference this year. He's going to Tennessee for his final year. Jake's going to love this. Zach Hicks announced today he's going to Penn State from Temple. So we have any comments on that group other than, MJ Rice seems to be a big find. UNLV obviously should benefit from the Boone brothers. Jalen Hill's a solid player too.
Yeah, so I really like the Jalen Hill move. Another Oklahoma guy that originally played for Lon, who's now going to play for Kevin at UNLV. And look, he's a really good athlete, brings some size, really good defender as well. Wish he could do more on offense, but I mean, with his defensive prowess and his athleticism, I think it's a very good pickup. And then got to talk about Zach Hicks. I'm upset. Temple had 6 guys enter the portal. I thought they were going to get some of them back. They only got 1 guy back. And it was the 5 better ones that all left and all went to Power 5 big time programs, with the exception being Bill Reynolds or Nick Jourdain's going to Memphis, which is in the AAC. But regardless, he made the tournament. So I'm upset to see that. And then I actually got to see Chris Levin play at Harvard when they came to the Palestra. He can shoot the 3 a little bit, but he's got the strength and the power to be able to take a bigger guy off the dribble and finish at the rim. So I think it's a good pickup for Tennessee. A lot of people say he kind of reminds them of Grant Williams a little bit with his with his size and a bit of his ability. And
it's very encouraging to see Tennessee sign another player who can't shoot the 3.
Yeah, he's not great, but that whole Harvard team was not a very good 3-point shooting team this year at all. So even when he shot him and you made him, you were like, oh my God, somebody on Harvard's making
What is wrong with Rick Barnes? What is wrong with him? Can't he just sign a couple guys that can shoot?
Yeah.
All right. So moving on to some lesser signings, but could be significant. We have John Hughley. He's a big, powerful junior. Didn't play much at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has a log jam of big front court players, younger than him, more athletic than him. And he's moving on along with Sienna's Javian McCullum, who's a sophomore and a very promising sophomore. I forget how many points per game he averaged this year, but it was up there, like about 16, I think. And he's a combo guard. And they're both going to Oklahoma. So Jordan Gainey, who had an ultra impressive freshman season at UC Upstate, is going to Tennessee. His numbers, especially his shooting numbers, he must be preparing to go to Tennessee because his shooting numbers went into the toilet this year. I still know, based on his freshman year, very, very, very impressive. So hopefully he can regain his form. Something had to be wrong there. Players just don't dip like he did. So I don't know if it was a personality thing or he was injured or what. Lastly, Nicholas Timberlake, who's like 24 years old, I believe, from Townsend, a sharpshooter, is going to Kansas. So that's kind of interesting. swapping a Townsend guy for a McDonald's All-American. So 3 new guys, significant guys, entered the portal this over the last couple of days. Trey White, 4-star freshman, didn't play a ton, but he played significant minutes for USC, but he wasn't outstanding. So Trey White, I'm not sure why he's leaving USC, because they really look to have a real good team next year, assuming he was going to make progression along with some of the other guys. This one was a kicker to Utah State. Rylan Jones was the former starting point guard before he was displaced by, help me out, Jake. Stephen Ashworth, who just transferred to Creighton. Rylan was out most of the year this year with concussion. And so when Ashworth transferred, my immediate thought was, well, Rylan Jones will get his starting job back, and Utah State should be in pretty good shape. Rylan Jones was a former, top 100 recruit. But he just put his name in the portal. So yeah. And here, this is interesting only because I put Tyreek Smith here. Tyreek Smith, he's a high energy player, bench player for Oklahoma State, really good athlete, good rebounder, shot blocker. But what's most significant is Oklahoma State is losing everyone. So I don't know what's going on there. Jake, you have any thoughts of what's going on in Oklahoma State?
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know if maybe they got a sour taste in their mouth being like the first team left out of the field, but Tyreek Smith.
That was a long time. That was 2 years ago. Oh, you mean this year?
This year. I don't know.
Well,
I mean, their offense just kind of tanked at times, but now you don't have Tyreek Smith. You lose one of the Boone brothers. Musa Cisse is gone. Avery Anderson III's out of there too.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna Mike Boyne's gonna have to throw a roster.
Yeah, they lost their entire front line.
Yeah. I mean they need size, but you just lost the dynamite scorer in Avery Anderson, who I think is actually going to go to TCU and might transfer in conference to get to play against them now. So you're going to need another scorer. Right.
All right, and moving on, Jake's got some. He's narrowed down. He's done a little research here, and he says Hakeem Hart will make his decision tomorrow, and he's got it down to Kansas, Villanova, Miami, and Gonzaga. Okay, you look good in blue, Hakeem. Villanova blue, not that wishy-washy Kansas blue. Anyway, Tyler Perry is down to Kansas State, Texas Tech, Florida, and Ole Miss. And Hunter Dickinson announced today that he will be taking an official visit to Villanova on April 28th. So good news, Hunter. We continue to campaign for you to go to Villanova. By the way, Jordan, Jake and I are both Philadelphia area guys, so that's what
I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I got my Sixers shirt on too. Yeah.
I actually saw Jameer Nelson in the hotel. He works for the Sixers in the front office.
I did not know that.
Yeah, nice guy.
I did not know that. Interesting. All right, so now we moving on to NBA draft entries, early entries, that is. Jordan Walsh, who we talked about the other day, is declaring and will maintain his eligibility. Same for Adem Bona. We can get maybe some feedback from Jordan on some of these guys. My feelings is both of these guys definitely will be drafted, though with another year, they could probably greatly enhance their stock.
Yeah, I think Jordan Walsh is ready to play in the NBA from a defensive standpoint.
Right.
But I think offensively, he's got a ways to go. Mm-hmm. If I were him, I'm returning to Arkansas and working on my offensive game. I mean, he has the talent to do it too. I think, if you look at Jordan Walsh, you say, well, he's one of the best defenders in the country, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he can defend 1 through 4. I mean, the guy's a beast. But the problem is offensively right now, he doesn't show enough. A lot of NBA guys are worried about his offensive ability right now. But if he becomes a consistent shooter, a guy that can crash can attack the rack and really show his athleticism on the offensive end. I mean, I think he could be like a late first round pick, but he's really got to work on his offensive game this season.
Right. I 100. That's exactly what we said last episode. Some other guys, Julian Phillips and Josiah Jordan James, who I reported on the show 2 weeks ago, was very much considering going into the transfer portal. That hasn't been announced, but he did announce, both he and Phillips announced they were going to test the NBA waters. In fact, everybody we're talking about on this list is all testing the waters, so nobody is officially in. Janiah Broome, Auburn center, same thing. Grant Nelson, we were talking, I don't know, on air or off air, like what's Grant Nelson doing? Well, he just put his name in the draft. So let's talk about that group a little. I think all those guys have second round chance, but I don't think any of them are a lock to be drafted.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the one thing I can say is out of that group, I think Grant Nelson would have the best opportunity to be drafted. I mean, he does so much offensively. He's a dynamic scorer. He can score at all three levels. He's got length. He's got size. Yes, he needs to get stronger. Yes, he needs to add more muscle mass. But, I mean, I watched Grant Nelson quite a bit this year, and he really impressed me. He was a guy that can score at will.
He could do some jaw-dropping things. But consistency is his problem.
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
okay.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I was gonna say, like, he's the type of guy that, yes, he probably would be drafted like late second round, but if I were him, I'm going back another year.
Right. Well, I would go back another year to a real program, and then he could really enhance his stock.
I would transfer too if I were Grant Nelson. I mean, and the other thing that, I know we haven't discussed, but
by the way, apologies, North Dakota State.
Problem.
I didn't mean to say you're not a real program. You are a real program. It's an excellent program, and I love the Big Sky. But I just think at this point in time, Grant really has to prove that he could do it against bigger, physical, more athletic players.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, one thing I know that we haven't really discussed, but that could really greatly benefit Grant is NIL. If he goes to a bigger school, they're going to give him good INL money.
Right. Yeah, exactly. A couple other guys, NCAA guys that are declared, who I don't think they're good players, and I think eventually, could be make it as second rounders, but I don't think they would make it right now. I think they're both juniors. That's Tristan Newton of Connecticut and Jalen Williams, the stretch four for Auburn. Good players, good college players. I just don't think they have enough right now to get drafted, and I see them coming back.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think they have enough. They got a lot to work on. Like Jalen Williams, I mean, he's really got to work on his whole game. Like, I just don't think there's anything that stands out to me that screams NBA prospect.
Well, and his body.
Sorry, I meant from like a skill and defensive standpoint.
Right.
There's nothing that really stands out about him where you could say, hey, like, this guy possesses this skill offensively or defensively that would make him an NBA prospect. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think he's ready.
Right. All right. In the last couple of minutes, we have some European guys who are all playing professionally who have all declared. And depending on who you ask, some say, like, for ESPN calls all three of these guys first rounders. I would right now say two of them are second rounders, and one of them is a borderline, maybe a second rounder. Keep in mind, all these guys are 18, and I still want to get a better look at them. I haven't, really had a chance to look deeply into all the top European prospects as much as I would like. They are Ryan Rupert from New Zealand. Right now we have him probably in the 30s on our draft board. James and Nagy, I think is pronounced. Huge center for Barca in playing in the Spanish ACB. Neither Rupert or not, excuse me, Najee is not playing big minutes, playing high level, but not playing big minutes. And then Bilal Koulibaly, playing for Met 92, the same team as Victor Wembanyama. And again, 18, he's probably the guy I like the least at this point. I'm not saying that they couldn't be first rounders at some point, but I would not be shocked unless I am totally off about it. And I could be. I got to look at them all more. But right now, I think 2 are second rounders and 1 is going to pull out.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you on that. I actually had a conversation with the scout from Germany, and he was actually telling me that Bilal Koulibaly is his favorite guy in the draft coming from Europe. Interestingly enough.
Well, if you look at his numbers, they were good, but he only played like 16 minutes a game. So, all right, well, we'll be talking about those guys more in the future, and we're going to have to close the college notebook. I want to thank Jordan Allen for joining us. We pushed him out the door because we had to rush off to an interview, but Jonathan Pierre is not quite ready to be interviewed, so we're going to continue on with the notebook and then talk to Jonathan in a little bit. So we got through all the NBA draft entries. Did you have anything you wanted to add about those draft entries?
No, that was it. I think we covered it. We covered it well. I wanted to let Jordan speak and let the scout speak his part.
Right, cool.
So I'd rather have him do that.
Okay, so now we have more unpleasantness to report on, and that's the New Mexico State. Do you want to talk about this a little bit? I don't know how much you know about it.
Yeah, so there was an article that came out yesterday, depending on where you are. This is from KTSM in New Mexico, but Washington Times put something out about this. We all knew about how explosive a story that this was when it came out, but now that we actually have concrete details, there's been a lawsuit that's been filed alleging hazing and sexual assault. So William Deuce Benjamin Jr. He's the New Mexico State player along with Shaq Adunuwu. I want to say those two have filed the lawsuit. It's against the Board of Regents at New Mexico State, against Greg Heyer, who was the coach there, against assistant coach Dominique Taylor, and then against 3 New Mexico State players, Kim Aiken Jr., DeSandre Washington, and Dr. Bradley. Dr. Bradley, who actually just committed to Northern Illinois recently. He's the only one of these guys that has found a new home.
Right.
They're all named in this alleging hazing and sexual assault.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I have a comment about Washington, but go on.
Okay. But there was hazing going on, including one thing that happened on the team bus where there was some groping involved, and it really was like unpleasant stuff, almost like stuff you hear. I know a couple years ago, Rich, in my area, Conestoga High School, I believe their football team got shut down for something that was like this, and hazing and sexual assault going on. And the coaches were informed about it, and that's why Greg Heyer and Dominique Taylor are named in this, because they apparently knew about it and didn't do anything.
Is that the same Dominic Taylor who played at Fresno State not so long ago?
I don't know. I think he was there. Let me look it up, because he was an assistant.
I think Dominic Taylor wasn't that long ago. He was a draft prospect out of Fresno State.
So he was an assistant under Chris Jans as well. That last year, he was at he was at New Mexico State with that team with Teddy Buckets that upset UConn in the first round.
Right.
So yeah, he's been a JUCO coach, kind of followed the same route that Greg Heyer was in. He played for Texas A&M Corpus Christi, probably different then.
Okay.
But yeah, so he was named in the incident. If you remember Dominique Taylor, his name was brought up.
He didn't play. He didn't play much. His whole career, he played 273 minutes.
So he was named in the lawsuit, I guess, or at least the police report with the shooting that went on New Mexico's campus, because he was the guy that basically like he kept some of the evidence in his bag and like took it on the bus with them, and they darted away and they left New Mexico and they left Albuquerque to go back to Las Cruces with like evidence on the bus. Like it was a big deal. So you have a couple of players that are named here.
The way I understand it, the bus was pulled over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The police had to fly down the highway.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean they left? Like, we're still investigating them.
Right.
And they had to get the bus. But, I mean, this shut them down the whole season. It was this lawsuit and these allegations at the time that cost Greg Heyer and Dominique Taylor their job and shut down the season for them. Who knows if Dominique Taylor and Greg Heyer will get back into coaching. It was an absolutely disastrous first year for Greg Heyer there at a program that's got a pretty damn good track record. I mean,
they have a track record of winning, but they also, probably even before you were yet, old enough to remember, they've always been collecting these. I don't know. The running joke has always been about New Mexico State that they get everybody else as criminals that nobody else wants. And Heyer was a JUCO guy.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to say without pissing people off. Yeah. But there's a certain type of person that goes to JUCO, and not everyone, I'm making generalities, but I'm just saying, the guys who, go to JUCO usually don't have their act together one way or the other. So yeah. And New Mexico State has been kind of always taking other people's malcontents and stuff like that and been able to put it together. But they've always done it with a legitimate coach, not some JUCO guy.
Yeah. Well, wasn't that also New Mexico? Like before Richard Pitino was hired, they had Paul Weir, and he was doing pretty much the same thing.
But I think New Mexico had New Mexico's always been the better program. I mean, going all the way back to like the 70s and 80s.
Right.
So yeah, I think New Mexico's always had a higher standard, in different ways.
But the point being here, like you have two guys that might not coach again. You have three players that who knows what happens, but these guys could be facing jail time too.
Oh yeah.
If they had sexual assault and hazing and abuse going on in their program, they knew about it and covered and didn't say anything about it.
Everybody on the team knew because they did this gross stuff in front of the whole team. Two guys, I guess it got so bad that two guys even went to Twitter and just said, this program isn't for me. I'm out of here. And I don't think it was the two guys that were assaulted. I just think that they went and they resigned. And I think they told their story and said, I'm leaving this program. This was before it was shut down. And this was in between the shooting incident. So they I guess, figured the shooting incident was just kind of like a one-off, but apparently this hazing stuff just kept on going on and on and on.
Yeah.
And
what a disaster.
Here's what I'm going to say about DeShondre Washington. I didn't know who the three guys were. I knew there were three guys. And I've been watching who's been getting picked up off the portal because DeShondre Washington's a sophomore. He's on our draft board. Up until today, he's gone. He can forget it. He's not going to be on my draft board.
Yeah. I mean, with good reason. Because, those guys might not get the opportunity to play basketball again, and these coaches might serve jail time and might not have.
Yeah. And is anyone, would anyone, think that that's unfair? No.
Not at all.
No. I mean, it's the same standard we're holding Nate Oates to. That he should have known. That's part of his job is to be, Len Elmore said it on our show, part of the job of a coach is the parents are entrusting you to take care of them, to watch out for their welfare. And Nate Oates didn't do that. And Greg Heyer didn't do this. So, yeah. All right. So here's some really, really interesting news. Maybe not so much for you because you're more of the college guy, but for the NBA draft, some really interesting stuff has been leaking out about the new collective bargaining agreement. But I'm going to start with the last one on this list. The one and done rule is staying. And I'm very happy about that. Oh, I forgot. I skipped over something, so we'll go back to that. But
Okay.
Comment on the one and done rule. We'll get back to. I forgot one college item. But what do you think about the one and done rule staying around? I'd like it.
Yeah, I like it because I at the end of the day, like whatever is in the play, whatever gives the players more power to make what they think is the best decision for them, I'm all for. Now, I did think it was interesting to see that if you sign a contract with a G League Ignite and Overtime Elite, or you go to and you play in Australia in the NBL, then you're not automatically draft eligible during the year that you turn 19. Like I think that's that whole thing is.
That's the NBL Next Stars, not the NBL regular Australian League. So
Okay.
the way it has always worked for international players, and it was just funny. I had this discussion with the G League Ignite people, one of their representatives, one of the communications people, is that if you play for Spain, for example, if you play for Barca, as long as you're not 22 years old, you don't have to declare. But then once you hit 22, you're automatically in. But then we've had a lot of international guys come over to Ignite and over to Overtime Elite, and I thought the same rules would apply to them because they're international guys. But no, once you're of 19 years old, you're automatically in the draft. So it's kind of like if you're not ready for the draft, it's like ready or not, you're in the draft. And so now they're changing it so that it's basically treated the same way as we treat international players. And again, I applaud that.
Yeah, right there with you.
The other interesting thing about these is they're going to force guys to go and participate at the combine. If you're invited to the combine, you have to participate. And the only way you can get out of it is if you're injured or your parents, somebody passed away in your family or something like that. But ultimately, if you want to be in that draft, you have to participate. You have to participate in the combine events, including medical testing, because a lot of these guys will refuse physicals. Can you imagine? These guys are investing millions of dollars and we have no idea what your knee looks like or your back looks like. And so that will no longer be. And that is wonderful. And apparently the NBA is probably tired of drafting people like Shaden Sharp, Shaden Sharps of the world. And because based on reputation, because ESPN said, he was the seventh best guy in the draft. And so Portland takes him at 7. Imagine that. And yeah, so these guys are not going to be able to squirm around the system anymore. And I'm happy for that too. So everything in this collective bargaining agreement is, to me, a total step in the right direction.
I would agree. I also think, hey, if they're going to force you to be in the combine, they're probably trying to dress it up and get more ratings, more eyeballs on it, more like the NFL combine.
Right.
So I guess that helps them out too, because obviously, like the NFL combine there's a whole like aura around it. It's just funny to you're watching people run the 40-yard dash and everything. But I guess they want to try and create that same buzz around the NBA draft combine and give them.
Well, they do show the games now.
I have seen that.
They do live stream the games, but what they don't do is they usually don't show the testing portion. And they may or may not. I don't know if there's just the interest. I'm interested in. I would watch it, or at least I'd have it on while I'm working on my draft rankings. But anyway, I'm really happy about all those things. I can't, it's nice to see things. Yeah, I think those are excellent changes. So good on you, NBA and the Players Association. All right, so the one item we forgot in the college news was Billy Lang's extension. So go with it.
Yeah, so hey, this isn't a deserved extension. I think I could put it that way. His numbers were not great. He got off to a very, very rough start at St. Joe's. I mean, he had to do it in the pandemic. They obviously had a lot of people leave. They were 16 and 17 this year. They showed progress. They had a good stretch of like January, February. But he's 38 and 77 overall. Get this, Rich. He's 18 and 48 in Atlantic 10 play.
Wow.
The numbers are not good. Now, like I said, 16
and they fired Phil Bartelli to get him.
Yeah.
Phil Bartelli. He's a legend.
You know, I'm trying not to mention his name because I'm still upset about it too as a big Five fan.
You and me
but
both.
Here's what I think this is.
I fell out of my chair when I heard they got rid of him.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense for a guy who literally spent 34 years there in totality, and then to just kick him out the door like that, which is I think pretty much half of his life at the time. To just kick him out of there, it was terrible, and it was a bad look for them, and it showed no grace or respect for what he had given to them. But the reason I said this isn't a deserved extension, it's simply looking at the numbers. Because if you take away Billy Lang's name and you don't have to talk about, and you don't talk about the comparison with Martelli all the time that the St. Joe's fans still do. If you just look at this record, this is not results that are indicative of somebody getting a contract. But he has a very good recruiting class coming in. He is a big center, Creased Isandoko, who redshirted last year, Sean Simmons, who redshirted last year. And then he's bringing in Xavier Brown, Anthony Finkley from Roman Catholic, and Desir Haskins from Camden. So he's bringing in a bunch of local guys who are very, very talented. Anthony Finkley's a bigger guy who can handle the ball a little bit for a big forward. Xavier Brown is a dynamite, really athletic and fast and smooth scorer who can shoot it. And then Desir Haskins is a big forward who can play defense but also knock down threes. If you know how Billy Lang likes to play, the guys who will play for him will play defense and will shoot threes. So he picked up some good guys to do that. But he's got a very good recruiting class coming in. They could not fire him and risk losing out on all those guys. And I think we kind of underestimate how hard of a job St. Joe's is because Martelli made it look so easy and he was that good. It's a small, religious school in the A10 in a mid-major conference. It's a smaller school. Believe there's a bit of academic requirements to be able to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a tough. This was going to be a process. It wasn't going to be a quick turnaround by Billy Lang. He needed time to get his guys in there. Next year, he finally has a team full of his guys that are in the program now. So now he's going on year number 5. He's got everyone that's in the program right now is guys that he handpicked to be there. So now that he's got his guys there, a very good recruiting class. They have some very good upperclassmen to go with all these talented young guys coming in. This is a double down by Jill Bodensteiner, who's the AD who fired Martelli. Pretty much her first order of business was to get rid of him. Mm-hmm. This is a double down by her because now she's betting on Billy Lang with his guys being able to have success in the A10. In a conference that might actually be kind of weak next year, VCU's got a new coach. Ryan Odom's got to put together a roster, even though he's one of my favorite hires of the offseason. George Mason, all their best players are gone and going to Providence. Dayton's lost some guys. Tumani Kamara, Mustafa Amzil transferred. A Sheriff Jobs is, for whatever reason,
right now, it looks like he's not coming back. He said he's in the draft and said if he comes back, he's going in the portal,
which is crazy. But there's some teams at the top here that are losing some players. So St. Joe's actually has a good chance with the sheer talent and returners they have to actually be a pretty damn good team in the Atlantic 10. Right. So this is a double down by
their star guard is Eric Roberts.
Eric Reynolds. He was spectacular. He got to the second team all A10 or something like that. He was spectacular this year. He's able to pull up off the bounce effortlessly. He's a dynamite shooter and score. Cameron Brown, who's a really good three-point shooter, is going to come back. I like the team they have next year, and this is a bet for the future that Billy Lang, with his guys, is going to be able to sustain the program once again.
Yeah, I saw Roberts play in a couple Big Five games, and I was impressed. I threw him on the draft board, but I haven't probably seen him since like December, and he's not coming out, so I haven't really worried about it. But yeah, I thought he was definitely had potential. Impressed with his game. Well, that's good news. St. Joe's want to see him be relevant again.
Yeah, you just want to see the Big Five be relevant again.
Right? Yeah.
It's a
Let's
good
go.
step.
Let's go, LaSalle.
They need. Speaking of them, I mean, they haven't brought anybody in yet.
What's that?
Like I'm still waiting for them to bring somebody in. They lost the Drame twins. Their starting center, Mamadou Ducouré, was out of eligibility, so he can't play. The Drame twins are gone.
Hey, I think we have a visitor.
So I need LaSalle to do something.
Hey, it's Jonathan. It's great to have you on. Have any questions before we get started?
No, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to invite me on the podcast. It means a lot. Thank you.
Sure. We're glad to have you. All right, today's second special guest is Jonathan Pierre, a sophomore star forward for Nova Southeastern Sharks, or formerly was a star forward for them. We'll get to that. A team that won the Division II National Championship this past season. Jonathan averaged 14.4 points, 5.2 rebounds, 3.3 assists with excellent shooting splits, 50 from the floor, 40 from deep, 82 from the line. Following the season, he entered the transfer portal and was recruited by numerous teams, and he decided to attend the University of Memphis and has 2 years of eligibility with Penny Hardaway's squad. Lot to read there. So, Jonathan, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing ecstatic. I'm feeling great. I'm happy to be here. I'm healthy, so I'm just thankful to be on this podcast.
Good. So you're the first ever underclassman to ever be on the show. Well, usually it's seniors, juniors sometimes, but you're our first underclassman, and you're probably the youngest too, but I can't find your birthday. Do you mind sharing when your birthday is?
I actually just turned 20 today, so I was
just 20 today. Happy birthday! All right. I spent Jonathan Pierre. Jonathan Pierre spent his birthday with Rich Harris. Wow. So here's something else that's difficult to find on you: your height. Depending on what site you look at, they say you're anywhere from 6'7" to 6'10". So. 6'10"?
Yes, sir.
All right. And I would assume that's because of your growth spurt. Now, if I got this right, you were 6'2" as a senior in high school?
Yep. Started off at 6'2" as a senior. Before going into districts, this was around the playoff time for us down here in Broward County.
Right.
Went from 6'6", 6'7".
Oh, you're in Brevard. You're in Brevard County?
Broward County.
Oh, Broward. Oh, okay. Sure. And so what you were at 6'2" at that point?
Yes, sir.
All right. And so that was 2 years or 3 years at 8 inches?
2 years ago, I was in the class of 21. Grew 5 inches within my senior year, and then after my first year at Nova, during the summertime, grew 2 more inches, which made me 6'9", and over the course of my sophomore season, finished off at 6'10".
All right, so that explains why everybody has different heights for you.
Yeah, it just keeps growing,
Right, yeah, that's great. And you're not done, actually. I mean, technically, usually people can grow up to like 22 years old. So, but yeah. For those that don't know, you're a Florida native, and NSU is in Florida, and you helped earn the Sharks a 67-1 record over the past 2 seasons, with the Elite 8 appearance when you were a freshman and a national championship this past season. You had a lot of great moments, obviously, a lot of winning moments for sure. So what were some of your most memorable experiences at NSU, on and off the court? It wouldn't necessarily have to be on the court.
I would say 2. I'll give 1 for each. For off the court was the memories I made with my teammates, the bonds I made with my coaches, the moments for, just the workouts right after practice, before practice, the late night trainings, and the best moment on the court was to win a national championship, not only for our community, but for our school history and for the people that all invest into the Nova basketball community, the Sharks basketball. So to win a national championship, that really made me feel really proud of just the team and all of our accomplishments throughout both years I've been here.
Right. So I wonder how many people can say I was 67-1 in my first 2 years in college.
I think that's pretty rare. So I'm blessed to have blessed to be able to be in a situation like this at Nova, to be able to learn from Coach Crutchfield, one of the winningest coaches in NCAA history. So to be around him, to be around the system, the environment, the coaching staff, it made me a better player. And not to mention be 67-1. That's just to cap it all off.
Right. So I assume the one loss was in the Elite Eight then.
From my first year, my freshman year.
Right. Okay. Jake's going to take over and ask you a few questions.
Gotcha. Jonathan, first of all, thank you so much for coming on. That it's probably been a whirlwind of a couple weeks for you ever since your season ended. So first question I have for you is 2 parts. First thing for you, did you have any D1 offers before you decided to go to Nova Southeastern? And then second of all, I know around here, I'm in the Philadelphia area. We're a huge basketball city at all levels. And there was a writer for the Inquirer, Mike Jensen, very big, really good basketball writer here. And he'll go and cover D2 and D3. And he'll always say, like, pay attention, like all college hoopers, like even if you don't have any D1 offers, like these D2 and D3 guys are still really, really good. So my second part of the question for you is, what would you say to a guy who's like, nah, I'm not, if it's not D1, I'm not going to play? Like, how good is the competition there, and how much can you continue to get better, have good coaching, and continue to grow your game, even if you're not at the D1 level and you're at the D2 level like you were?
Wow. 2 pretty good questions. For the first one, I only had one official offer out of high school. I got recruited very late. I committed around March, April, around that. So it was a very late offer for me. Full scholarship. I was like 20 minutes away from the house. So it was my only offer going into my collegiate career. Second of all, for the guys that just want to go D1, and in that aspect, D2 and D3 basketball, you're going to find a lot of hoopers that can really play at either level. I really think from the D1 jump, the only difference is the bigs. I feel like the bigs really make up the D1 scale. But I would just say keep working, create your own story. Your story you never know. You could easily go pro at a D2, D3. The route may be a little longer, but if you could play, they will find you. And that's the thing I would say. Like, I was able to play under a great coach, great system, and I was able to showcase some of my abilities. So just go to the right fit, play to the best of your ability, and day in and day out, show why you can compete at the highest level possible. And they'll find you. They'll find you because they're searching for talent. So you put yourself in a position to do that, and you can end up playing pro, whatever, D2, D3, NIA. I've seen incredible stories.
Thanks for that. Sorry, I'm dog sitting. Sorry if you had to hear the dog barking. Of course, when I sit down, I let the guy out, and then of course when I sit down, he wants to go out home. So, but yeah, I mean, totally. Like, I remember Ryan Hawkins at Creighton 2 years ago. Like, there's still really good D2 and D3 guys that will get D1 looks. You know, like you said, like that's even with football. Because like if you can play, it doesn't matter where it is. They'll absolutely come and find you. So obviously your recruitment was crazy. Probably the longest transfer list I've ever seen. I think you have like like 1/3 of all D1 schools that were looking at you. So rather than ask you like who was reaching out to you, because it was pretty much everybody, I wanted to ask you what was the recruitment process like? Does your phone never stop buzzing? Are you like are you trying to set up visits? Are you just trying to talk on the phone with the staffs that are reaching out to you? And then how do you even sift through that many offers in a short amount of time?
Well, first credit to my support system and to Talib and Coach Francis. Guys have really helped me grow into the man I am today. So it really helped they really eased my way into that process and made it a lot easier for me, and saying don't stress out, look at it as an opportunity and not like a stress. Because obviously I'm blessed to get here. I'm blessed to be able to get the God-given ability, the talent to be in this position. So to receive all those calls was a blessing. So I didn't really know, because obviously there's so many schools showing you dreams, this, that, how they see you in the fit. And I had a couple of schools going on Zooms where I could possibly see myself fitting in. But after I went to that visit with Memphis, what Penny Hardaway's done, just not as a coach, but as an NBA player, and his facilities, his coaching staff, the city of Memphis, I knew in my heart that was the right place for me. So I stuck with it, and I honored that. And I knew that was the right place for me. I just got to come and work and be ready to be the best version of myself day in and day out.
Yeah, for sure. That's an absolutely great attitude to have. And you actually are going to lead me into my next question. So now that you're at Memphis, how do you know what? Give me your timeline there. Like, when did they reach out to you? Was it a phone call? Was it a Zoom? Did you go down there and visit? And then ultimately, I'm sure it's not very hard when Penny Hardaway's selling you on coming to your program. I'm sure it's a very easy sell, for you to want to go there. But what kind of role does he have laid out for you to come play for the Tigers next year?
Okay. Starting from the beginning of the question, when I first entered the transfer portal the day after he contacted me, set up a Zoom the next day, and talking to the coaching staff, strength conditioning, nutritionists, those other people on the Zoom. I was like, I got to take a visit here. I got to see what they're about. I got to see their facilities for myself. Went on the visit the weekend on a Saturday to Sunday, and right then and there, going on that visit, seeing the facility, the unique opportunity that Memphis offers as a whole. And like I knew it was I prayed on it, and that right there was the right spot for me. And your other question, you said, what was your second part of the question?
What's the role that he has for you when he was hitting you on going there? What's the role and that he has envisioned for you there?
His role is he wants me to be I would say everything that I've been doing at the D2 level, but enhance it. Being able to increase your turnover ratio because I was 2-1. Being able to shoot the ball at a higher level. I shot 40% this year, shooting it to 45, trying to get to 55% from the field goal. So basically overall enhancing my game and getting all of my teammates better. But I think what people really overlook about my game is that I don't really need to score to be effective on the court. I can rebound the ball. I'm really good at giving the extra pass to my unselfish teammate. So basically his role is, for me, I would say, to enhance everything and I can really do a little bit of everything. Shooting, passing, scoring, a little bit of defense, getting a lot better on that, mastering my body. So honestly, I say sky's the limit, and it's just how much I want it, how bad I want to work for it, and it determines the role for me when I get there. So.
Okay. And then next I want to ask you about Memphis. At Nova Southeastern, played for a team. You like to press, you like to run, you like to get up and down. Memphis was doing a little bit of that this year, creating havoc, creating turnovers, and turning up the pressure on defense. So not only with meeting Penny and him outlining what he wants for you, continue to get better, and even on strengths, continue to enhance that. Does the style of play that Memphis had, was that also something that appealed to you to want to go there?
I would say so. That the system that I ran at Nova, I struggled at it because my best suit wasn't playing the best defense, honestly, because coming from somebody that just got to height so quickly, I had to learn how to remaster my body. So that system forced me to guard literally every single position from the 1 through the 5, because that type of system, you never know who you're going to end up on. So that was appealing for me because I know I had the facilities and everything in arm's reach to get better at. So I could thrive in a system like that. And obviously, I think that system's just great because you have to double up the amount of possessions, double up the amount of shots, pace of the game, flow, tempo, and I can really play a lot of plays. I'm good at playing at my own pace. If we need to push the ball, good. If we need to run the floor, so I'm just learning how to try to play every single style so I can be as versatile as possible. So that was appealing for me, that he allows you to be versatile in that aspect of your game if you have the ability to do so.
Right. Jonathan, for those who haven't seen you play, and I'm sure it's evolved over time, but for those who haven't seen you play, how would you describe what you are? Like if you log on to Synergy, they call you I don't know if you noticed, if you've been on Synergy lately, but they have a new feature where you first log on and up at the top it says what type of player you are. So they describe you as a playmaking forward. How would you describe your game?
I would say positionless basketball. So I would say a playmaking forward isn't bad. A guard, a point forward, whatever they want to label it as. I think I do a lot of things well on the court, shooting the basketball, passing the ball, being able to create shots for my teammates, And yeah, I would say that's not a bad thing. Playmaking wing, point forward. I feel like I have to do a lot more to receive those, but at the moment, I would say that gives a glimpse of what I could do. I think a playmaking forward is the right way to go about it, or point forward.
Right. I would assume that. Well, I don't know. I guess I'll ask. I won't assume. What does Memphis like? Do they lay out like a training plan for you for the off season? And is there any particular aspects of of your game that they would like you to focus on? This summer.
Well, first and foremost, I'm going up to the Division I level. My body. I'll be getting with the nutritionist. Getting with the strength and conditioning program. Recovery is going to be huge. I'm going to be putting on not a lot of weight, but good weight, good strength to be able to carry my own self against, the 1 through the 5 at a Division I level. So that obviously enhancing my skill set, keeping it tight and sharp, being able to up my shooting percentage. So just getting better in the overall aspect with the main focus and component, conditioning and strength. So right. we don't have a training plan yet because obviously we're not there just yet, but I know for sure that would be a priority for the coaching staff and for me as well.
Okay. Do you have a dog, Jonathan?
My girlfriend has a dog. She has a doodle, so I take care of her. She's a beautiful dog.
All right. So for those people who are listening, we're having dog issues today, but anyway, last couple of questions. The recruiting process in and of itself. Did you expect such so many people to be interested in you? And does that add to your confidence that you're going to be able to make this jump that not everyone can make?
It's a great question. Like I said, first, for the first part of the question, I didn't know it was going to be to this magnitude. I was thinking I'm going off a national championship. I'm pretty sure they're going to be potential. So I'm expecting a good amount of schools, but nothing to this magnitude. So I thank God for just putting me in a position to where I could have played almost anywhere in the country. So that was a blessing within itself. The question is, am I going to perform at the next level? That's a great question to ask.
Well, no, I give you confidence that you could do it. I mean, not everybody's gonna say, well, I don't know if I can make that jump, but I would think with having all these schools reach out to you, that's gotta I know I could do this now because they think I can do it.
Well, for me, the confidence comes from hard work.
Right.
The work I put in, I know I'm wherever I go, I'm gonna be one of the hardest working, the late nights, the early mornings, prepping my mind, body, making sure I get enough sleep. So I know I'm gonna take care of myself in that aspect. So yeah, the school is giving me confidence to the school that I've reached out gave me confidence that I could play at the next level. But at the end of the day, it falls on me to put the product out there on the floor and make sure I'm still taking care of myself, because all that's nice and all, but I got to keep the main thing, and that's making sure that I'm doing everything in my power to be the best possible basketball player on the floor day in and day out. So honestly, I think it's going to transition really nice, and people are going to be very surprised how well it just transitioned from the D to the D1, and not just because of the talent, just because of the work ethic and the person that I am.
Right. All right. Last question, non-basketball question. So outside of basketball, what are some of your interests? What do you like to do for fun?
I like to go on nature walks. I'm a really big nature person. I love getting vitamin D, love going to the beach, love tanning sometimes. I love biking. Not biking. Yeah, I was about to say cycling, but I love biking. I have a mountain bike. I love spending time with the dogs. We went to the dog park, or we have a place called Dog Beach where I like spending time with dogs, cats. I'm not really a big fan of, but if I have a good cat on me, I love playing with pets for the most part.
Right.
I'm a big nature person. I like going outside. I like doing community service. I like talking to the generation behind me that sees me as an inspiration. I love communicating with people. I think that's one of the best aspects that I have. So I just like just being outside and just, connecting with the world.
Yeah, that sounds great. And Jake has a dog you can have.
Yeah, if you can keep him from barking, yeah. I just need an hour quiet, man.
All right, Jonathan, I appreciate your time, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye on you and enjoying watching you play at Memphis this year in the American Athletic Conference. I almost forgot because everybody's moving out of there. So, and they got teams coming and going. By the way, next week we'll be talking to some of your competitors next year. We have two guys, at least one guy from Florida Atlantic, who went to the Final Four. It's going to be on. I don't know if it's going to be Elijah Martin or Janelle Davis. They haven't told me which one they're sending me my way, but yeah, you should check them out. We'll mention them to you. Or, I mean, we'll mention you to them. Say, hey, watch out for this 6'10" mobile forward who can dribble.
Well, the credit to those guys. Those guys could really play. I watched their journey across, like when they had took FA into March Madness. So those guys could really play. So I can't wait to battle it out and may the best man win.
Yeah, I'm glad they're joining the conference. It's going to be a big boost. All right, Jonathan. Well, good luck in the future. It was great to meet you, and let's talk again. Maybe during the next season, or maybe after next season. But definitely come visit us again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Jonathan.
You too. Thank you for everything, by the way.
Sure, Jonathan. I appreciate your time. All righty. It's time for the NBA portion of the show, and I'm joined by Doc Llewellyn and Drew Barton. Gentlemen, how you been? How are things going?
Everything been well. Good.
You guys got pushed aside on Tuesday because we have like hordes of guests coming in. So you guys got preempted by
It's all right. It's good for the show.
Yes.
People are probably tired of hearing me talk anyway, so we can some fresh blood on the show is good.
All righty. So what are your reactions to the playoffs so far? Start with you, Doc.
A few injuries, but it looks like the injuries didn't matter. But tonight looks like the series might shift now that Kawhi's out. He's not playing game 3.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What happened there? That's news to me.
Has a knee injury apparently. So I don't know where it came from, but it just random came out today. So
I was going to say, I mean, I was checking the news probably up to like 3:30 before we hit the air, and
yes, apparently he re-aggravated. I'm assuming it was on the partial Achilles or ACL tear he had. I'm assuming that's the knee. Re-aggravated in game 1. They said he played through it in game 2, and now game 3 he's not going to play.
Wow. I mean, he has been their offense. You know what's been interesting about that series? You know, I'm glad we brought it up. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it just seems to me Norman Powell has been so quiet. Gordon has been relatively quiet, and Bones Highland has, he's done a little, but not a lot. All the players, especially Norman Powell, who's averaging like 17, 18 a game in the regular season. He's been really quiet. Those guys better not be quiet tonight if they want to win.
Yeah, they probably won't. They're not going to be able to be quiet. I mean, Kawhi was averaging like 36 points in the 2 games, so he can't missing that. Westbrook has been playing good. He had a bad shooting game 1, but his hustle helped them win the game. Game 2, he actually had a great shooting game. So we'll see how Westbrook comes out. This is what Westbrook wanted. He could be the star. Let's see what happens with him next. On the other series, Golden State down 2-0, no Draymond. Golden State all season hasn't been good away, so that's no surprise. But they home now, so let's see if they could tie it up at home. Giannis got injured, but Milwaukee said, "Who cares?" They blew Miami out by like 30 yesterday, so they don't care about that. Sixers in Boston is a collision course. They ready to play each other right now. The 2 teams they playing against is just a warm up. So the East is almost basically done, except for the Knicks and Cavaliers, the best series in the East. I think that's going 7. Don't know who's going to win that.
Yeah, I agree.
And then in the West, now that the injury with Kawhi, if the Suns win today, I think the series is over. I think the Suns advanced. Nuggets is taking care of Minnesota. Lakers and Memphis. I still think Memphis got a shot. I don't think Memphis is out. I think Memphis in the Warriors series, two series still questionable.
I wouldn't count. You know what's weird is I mean, last night Morant doesn't play. Memphis wins pretty easily. I mean, the Lakers really never got closer than 6, and that score hovered around like seemingly a 10 to 12 point lead almost the whole game, and without Morant, and then Giannis doesn't play, and they win by like 130. And it's just weird. It almost makes you think that not having Draymond, but Kawhi, I just can't see the Clippers overcoming that one. Though if he comes back, for the next game, I think they'll even up the series. So I wouldn't call that series over, but sure does not help to not have Paul George. So what are your thoughts on your Warriors there, Drew?
Man, I can go on and on about this one. I mean, first and foremost, I know the officiating has been the big, question mark on this series. It's dominating headlines, the Draymond suspension. Personally, I feel that the way it was handled in the game with the ejection and then the standard foul on Sabonis, I think that's how I would have called it. I think the suspension, particularly hearing Joe Dumars come out and say that past conduct was coming into play, I'm a believer that it has to be taken in a vacuum, in my personal opinion. And do I think that warranted a full-on suspension? I do not. I think it just sets kind of an interesting precedent of so now the NBA can take things personally. Seriously though, now the player.
No, I hear you.
So now are Adam Silver and Dumars sitting up there going, I don't like this guy. The moment he messes up, he's going to get a suspension. I think that's a little bit unfair. I mean, look, Draymond has a bad rep, and definitely some of it's without a doubt warranted, but I think that sets a bad precedent. I think personally, my takes on the series, it's twofold. It's a situation where I think two things can be true. I think the Kings are hungry and they're playing like it. I think the Warriors have played bad basketball. I mean, particularly in their last outing. I mean, if you think you're going to beat a team on the road with that kind of energy and that kind of environment that has good players, committing, I think, 22 turnovers and allowing, I think they gave up 12 or 13 offensive rebounds, you're going to lose. You hand a team an extra 30 possessions in the NBA, you're going to lose, especially on the road in the playoffs. But I also think that in general, this series has been overly officiated. I'm not really sure why the refs have taken it so much upon themselves to inject. I mean, I counted up the numbers for all of this series. The Warriors and Kings in both of their games have 99 foul calls. The next closest is Suns Clippers with 88. I mean, Celtics Hawks have 51 total fouls through 2 games. And I think when you start having 50 plus foul calls in a game, I'm not going to put it on the refs, but I think the refs have now impacted that game, whether you like it or not.
Especially when you're talking about 2 finesse teams in general. I mean,
exactly.
The only 2 physical players are the 2, really on either team. Well, Looney's pretty physical, yeah. But Sabonis is probably the only real physical player that plays for the Kings.
I have a problem with it.
Doc, what do you think about the suspension? I mean, it certainly didn't surprise me, but I certainly understand what Drew is saying. I mean, they even put that in their press release.
In the press release.
Press release. They said the reason why we're doing this is because based on his past behavior. And I'm like, is that a rule? Because if it's not a rule, you shouldn't be thinking about it.
Well, the NBA, based off how they take care of situations like this and based off their mantra, his suspension was coming for it. I don't think he should be suspended because it's the playoffs. It's like I felt he should have been suspended in 2015, the year they came back from 3-1. It was 2017, the year from 3-1 or whatever year that was, when the LeBron James won the championship.
Right.
And was suspended for game 4 or 5. So
yeah, and that started the downhill slide for that series.
So I don't think he should have been suspended, but based on what the NBA criteria is or what a suspension is, what leads to, based on their rules, you gotta go with what they say, their rules. And I think Draymond did his own doing where, you have the commissioner, David Adam Silver there. Why are you egging on the crowd, cursing the crowd out? and running up and down the court like Adrian Brown when he got Antonio Brown when he got kicked over.
Right.
Like you making it worse. Like you can't. It's like you added on to it, and then based on the past history, it was like you did it on purpose. If it wasn't past history, then they probably would say, "Oh, you didn't really do it on purpose. It probably was accident." But it seems like you stepped on him. And then what happened? Also, Sabonis came out. This the Kings did. They said Sabonis had to go get X-rays on his thing, so that all of that played in tune to him getting suspended.
Right.
So that's why you can't injure the player on purpose. And
Trust
that's
me,
like
if your ribs are broken, you don't need X-rays.
Yeah.
You'll know.
I think my big thing in this series, and like this is, I'm a Sabonis, as a Zags fan, I'm a Sabonis guy. Like I've been a Sabonis guy since he came out in college. One of my favorite. And it's not surprising. It's been part of their game plan. Push as many buttons, walk up to that line. I'm not saying anyone on the Kings are dirty. I'm not saying Mike Brown gave them a dirty game plan, but we're going to be physical. I mean, if you go back and watch, I mean, did you see the play where Trey Lyles ran Jordan Poole over? I believe on an inbounds play, Jordan, he just ran him over. There's a play where they're inbounding and Steph's under the bat. And he's getting ready to break out and try to come to the ball. And Davion Mitchell just kind of arm bars him in the face. And it's the playoffs. I'm not saying you got to call that, but I do start thinking at some point, okay, maybe every third time someone's hip checking somebody, okay, maybe you have to start calling it at some point.
But I've seen just people got done saying there was too many fouls called in that series. You can't have it both.
No, but I think it's the type of fouls. It's like in one way you can't call like these tic-tacky things one way and not call them the other. So if you're going to call everything on a foul, call everything a foul. I mean, if you're not going to let him play. And so I think there's too many foul callings. But then I'm watching, Kevon Looney getting over the back calls when him and Sabonis are battling in the paint. And then Sabonis comes flying down the court. And there's a play where he just trucks Looney, who literally ends up from the restricted area out of bounds. And Sabonis ends up with the rebound. And there's no call. You got to be consistent. And I just don't think there's consistency. I think they're calling too many things. Let them play. But I also think when you have a series in a game one where Steph Curry, two-time MVP Steph Curry, face of the NBA, Steph Curry shoots 2 free throws, and Monk and Fox combined shoot damn near 30. I get it. Oh, Steph Curry shoots threes, but come on. Steph Curry drives to the basket too. And I can't think of a game where a superstar face of league type player is going to shoot 2 free throws and a Malik Monk's going to come in and get 15, 16. I just think that optically it starts to look weird. I don't know. It's hard. I'm trying to balance my homer in it, like being a homer and also like objectively watching. I just think the officiating in this series has been bad. It hasn't been consistent. I mean, even on the Warriors, did you guys see that blatant double dribble by Klay Thompson where he drives, picks up his dribble, gets swarmed by the defense, and then turns around and dribbles back out to the 3-point line?
No, I missed
Like
it.
he literally drives to the basket, picks up the ball at like the free throw line, is being double teamed, is like holding the ball up, and then turns around and dribbles out to the 3-point line. And I'm sitting there like, how are you not going to call that? Like fundamentally, that's horrible. And that's against my Warriors. I'm like, that's egregious. Like the ref who was on ball for that possession, take off the shirt and go sit in the stands, dude. Give the shirt to someone else because that was horrible. So I just think this officiating in particular has been bad. I think it's been bad all year in the NBA, but it's coming to a head now.
Yeah, I don't know about the officiating. I don't think the officiating really affecting the game. I think they letting them play rough and play really physical. I think a lot of series been very physical and they letting them play. But the thing about the Warriors, they have bad lineups. So their problem is they want to have Jordan Poole play with Klay Thompson and Steph, but that lineup don't play defense. So when you do that, it's easy for Monk, who drives the ball, and De'Aaron Fox, who drives the ball, to draw fouls each and every single time. So they're going to have more calls because they go to the basket every time. And Monk and De'Aaron Fox been causing pain for them in terms of drive to the basket. And Sabonis already played physical. That's his game. He plays physical, so he's going to draw a foul. So I think
that's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, especially Fox. Fox's game is going to the hole, and Malik Monk has been doing it a lot too. I mean, that's where you're gonna get the calls.
Yeah, and then both
you're looking at
down fast. The game. This is the fastest series in the NBA, so it might be more calls because it's going so fast, up and down, up and down. These guys is not moving slow, waiting to the shot clock get down to 1 to shoot. They going up and down, so there's more chance of having more foul calls. And they just fast. They draw fouls, man. I don't know though. I feel like the Warriors hasn't been playing aggressive enough, other than Draymond. Clay is not the same defender. So and Gary Payton needs to play probably more. And so Andrew Wiggins probably need to stay in more instead of going to Kuminga and Jordan Poole, because those are the ones that are actually going to play defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just looking at it. Like, I just think across all the series, like I said, you've got, I mean, the biggest disparity is you got almost 100 fouls in this game. You got Atlanta Stars got 51. I mean, you're talking about 50 plus more fouls almost in over a 2-game sample, 11 more than the next closest game. And again, it goes on both sides. There are plenty of calls where I'm like, dude, what are we doing here? I just think that they haven't been consistent, in my opinion. You know, sometimes it's tic-tacky, sometimes it's not. If you're going to let him play, let him play. If you're going to let him bang and you're going to let him kind of get cheap shots in, you know, before the ball's inbounded, let him do it. But I mean, there was a stretch of the Warriors, I think, had 4 fouls in 90 seconds. I think there was another stretch where they got to 7 fouls before the Kings picked up their first. And I'm like, all right, like at some point, just to me, I'm like, I don't know how in today's NBA a team can pick up 7 straight fouls before another team gets 1 when refs are blowing whistles because a guy farted. Like, that's just my opinion. You know, I think overall I don't have too big of an issue. I think most of the games have been called pretty well. They've let them play. And I do think that, like, this has been a good series. And again, I think the Kings deserve to be up 2-0. Like, let me make that very clear. The Warriors have played like crap, particularly in this last game. The Kings deserve to win. It's just like, I want a little bit of some stability. The play where Draymond Green came down with the defensive rebound, was falling out of bounds and inbounded it. And then Sabonis trucks him from behind. And they just instantly call a whistle on him. I'm like, come on. Like, you're an NBA official.
They reversed that one.
But it's like, really? Like, we had a challenge for you to make.
Right.
Like, come on. That to me is terrible officiating. Klay Thompson dribbles, picks up the ball for 4 seconds, and then basically dribbles away, and you don't call that? Like, that's problematic to me. But we got game 3. We got game 3 tonight.
I got 2 other comments. I think that the Warriors' half-court offense has been pretty atrocious. It seems to me that the only time they've really been scoring, and they do it when they get down the court. I mean, I can't. So both of these teams have gotten so many open layups. It's incredible. But when Sacramento does get back, Golden State's been putting up some horrible shots or throwing the ball away. The other thing I want to point out is when Wiseman was traded, we said, wow, you're not going to at least replace him with somebody who can block some shots? And now what we said that day is now going to we're going to see what the result is tonight. Because what are you going to do? Use JaMychal Green at center?
You might have to.
Right.
Might have to.
Right. And I just can't believe that they don't have at least one legitimate shot blocker on that team. I don't know how an NBA team expects to run the gauntlet in the playoffs without at least one shot blocker. All right. So, Dillon Brooks. Dillon Brooks called LeBron old and not the same player he was. So, is Brooks poking the bear, or is he poking a dead bear that's not going to wake up?
You want to go, Joe?
You can go, Doc. You can go. It's all good. We're probably gonna be on the same page on this one, so.
Man, nah, I like Dillon Brooks, man. I don't think Dillon Brooks is saying anything wrong. He's trying to get his fame. You know, he's not a good basketball player, so he needs to get his fame somewhere else. And this is the way to do it. And he knows LeBron James can't just go out there and get 40 when he wants anymore. So when he's saying this, it's some truth to it. You know, LeBron James is definitely better than him. Correct. And Dillon Brooks, you can't guard LeBron James. But he knows that LeBron James is not going to get the ball and attack Dillon Brooks every single time. You can look in the first 2 games. LeBron James may attack Dillon Brooks 1 possession. And then when he gets the ball back, he's going to do a step back 3. He's not going to keep going at Dillon Brooks to get 40. And if he does have a hot game, he might get 40. But that's him chucking. So this may be falling into the Memphis Grizzlies' hands if LeBron James' mindset is, I'm going to go get 40. Because if LeBron James tries to get 40, he might take horrible shots. He might like Westbrook out there. He might shoot 30 shots to try to get 40 because he's not going to be able to drive to the basket each and every time because that's LeBron James. This new LeBron James today does not do that. He takes more 3-pointers. That's why the other night
he relies a lot on post-up offense.
Yes, and that's why he shot like 1 for 8 from 3. He loves a 3-point line now. That's what he loves shooting. And he does not shoot well at the 3-point line.
He never has.
Right. And he just keeps doing it. So I think this is great for Dillon Brooks to say that, because now LeBron James fans are telling LeBron, you better go get 40. And now LeBron is he going to try to get 40, or is he going to feed into Dillon Brooks and let Dillon Brooks, he told y'all he only got 22 or 24 or whatever it is. But I like what Dillon Brooks is saying. Honestly, you can't lose in Dillon Brooks' eyes. Honestly, he's not a future All-Star. He's not good. He's always going to make money in the NBA because he plays hard. He's like Patrick Beverly. You're going to find a roster for him, and he's a tall Patrick Beverly. And he plays fake defense. You know, it's not lockdown, but he tries. So, and hey, he's like he's the heel. And when you everybody like a villain, right? I mean, the Batman is playing without the Joker.
Yeah, no, I agree with Doc. I mean, I don't like the Grizzlies. Again, they've been a kind of a foil to my Warriors, and I think they talk too much. I mean, calling yourself a dynasty, you haven't even been to the Western Conference Finals. Get that out of here. But I agree with the point Doc's making. I think he's basically daring LeBron, like, okay, try by yourself. You couldn't beat us this last game because Anthony Davis was horrible. D'Angelo Russell was horrible. So it's like, go try to beat us. Go try to get 40. Dillon Brooks knows it's a long series. It's 1-1, so they're going at least 4 more games now. Or, I'm sorry, 3 more games minimum. So I think he's playing this long game like, okay, LeBron, come out gunning. Are you going to be able to maintain that now? You are older. Are you going to be able to play 40 minutes, on these quick turnarounds, having to be on the road, come back to Memphis? Is your team up for that challenge? I think Dillon Brooks is just like, what do I have to lose with no Ja Morant? Like, if we lose, we kind of have the built-in excuse of Ja's not out there. We're missing our best player. They're missing Brandon Clark. They're missing Steven Adams. So if they do go down, like everyone thought they were going to lose. Like, I thought they were going to come out, and I thought LeBron was going to smell the blood in the water and go, we're putting a dagger in it. It didn't happen. So it's a big win for the Grizzlies. Like, we beat you without 3 rotation players and our best piece. So, I mean, he's right. LeBron's not the LeBron from, 7-8 years ago who could single-handedly go average 35, 12, and 8 in a series and beat the Toronto Raptors by himself, basically. That's just not his game anymore. He can't do it. And even if he can do it for a game, can he do it for 3 nights in a row, having to be on the road and travel? I don't think so. So, I mean, the biggest issue is it's not LeBron. It's AD and D'Angelo Russell got to show up. And this has been the issue with Anthony Davis basically since the bubble. You can't have 13 points when a team's missing 2 huge front court pieces. I get Jaren Jackson's like the defensive player of the year, but you cannot have 13 supposedly be a guy to be the Robin.
Jaren Jackson wasn't guarding him much of the time. It was
exactly, yeah. So it's like you can't. And then D'Angelo Russell, like on paper, you should be the best guard on the court on paper, and you're out there. You have 5 points, 2 for 11 from the field, 5 fouls, 3 turnovers. I mean, you're not going to win. So I agree with Doc. I think I can't stand Dillon Brooks. He does a lot of talking, but for one night they backed it up, and we're going to see how the Lakers respond, because I don't think they can win with LeBron trying to carry this team like he did in the past.
No, I agree. You know who else is looking old to me? And you guys are going to go, nah, you're crazy. But I'm telling you, I was watching the game the other night, and even when they were winning, I was thinking, Kevin Durant looks old to me. He just doesn't look fast, doesn't look explosive. He's just basically shooting over people. Can't really seem to get by anybody. I don't know. Anybody notice that, or is?
Okay, I think KD is still he kind of does this in the first round. Like he's like a slow grinder. I thought he even did this with the Warriors. Like first rounds. Remember one year they say, "Oh, Patrick Beverly is locking you up." When the Warriors went against the Clippers, when before Kawhi and everybody came, this is when they played each other in the first round. They was like, "Oh, Patrick Beverly's locking you up," but he came out like in game 4 and 5 and 6, and the rest of the players started averaging like 33. I think he's just a slow. Like he I don't know. KD's like a nice basketball player to me. Like he gets more into it the more the down the line as you go further, or when the team needs him. I think he needs something like to boost him up. Right now, I think it's calm. So he go with the flow a lot when he plays basketball. So
he's also been covered a lot by Kawhi. So okay.
Yeah, I thought Durant played a hell of a game in game 2, personally.
But I thought Booker is the one who really won that game for him.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just thought KD. I think Book was. I think Kevin Durant did a lot. I mean, he damn near had a triple double. He was facilitating. He still got his 27. Was efficient. Knocked down his free throws. He had 2. Like I think Booker was like the catalyst that jumped him. But I think KD's.
I'm just saying he just doesn't look explosive. I'm not saying he's not productive.
Right. Yeah.
You know, just like LeBron is still productive, but
right.
I don't know. I'm just thinking. I think maybe he's losing a step, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen someday, and you know, I'm just wondering if today's the day. But we shall see. Maybe Doc's right. All right, so this next topic was Doc's, and I'm not exactly sure what he's thinking. So, Doc, what are you thinking when you say which teams are in blow up mode and rebuild watch?
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't put that one in there?
No.
Huh.
I get the point though. I get the point.
I don't either.
You know?
Go ahead. It's what
I think what they're just saying is like, depending on, if you win or lose, if you lose, what teams are in kind of this was a positive step forward, like the Cavs, like, hey, we made the playoffs.
Sacramento.
They're not. Yeah, like if those two teams lose in the first round, they're not changing anything. Right. I think they might add a piece here or there, but they're not trading Fox, getting rid of Sabonis. Whereas I think a team like Atlanta, who's getting embarrassed right now, and I think the Celtics are just flat out better, and it's very clear that they're not even remotely in the same level as Sixers, Atlanta, or Boston, the Bucks. I think Atlanta might look to blow it up and finally move off of Collins. Trae Young just got voted most overrated player by Spurs. Same thing with like Minnesota. Like I think even though it's only been 1 year of the Gobert, I would start to look at Cat's not that guy. Gobert might be the worst trade in NBA history. Like outside of Anthony Edwards, I think everybody's on the table for that team.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they're saying.
It would be a hell of a horrible look for them to get rid of Gobert after 1 year.
Well, the teams I think that's in danger mode that's going to blow up. I think it's one team, number one is the Sixers. They're going to blow it up. You can't lose second round again. You lose to Boston, they're blowing it up. Harden might not even sign back. He might opt out and go to Houston. That's what everyone keeps saying. Sam Cassell just did an interview. Well, I was about to do an interview at the end of the week with the Houston Rockets to be their head coach. Then you have I don't know how Embiid's going to feel after the season, after losing second round again. You still got Tobias Harris. You might want to trade Tobias Harris and Maxey for Dame. You have a lot of options. So I think they might blow it up. I know they're going to blow it up. Matter of fact, if they lose. Sixers is number one in terms of blowing it up. Number two, it depends how far Boston go. Boston doesn't go to the NBA Finals. They always teasing trailing Jaylen Brown. He might be another person to try to go. Let's trade Jaylen Brown for Dame or whatever the situation might be. I think those two teams, in terms of blowing it up, is going to be up there.
I think Miami's time.
I think Miami's up there.
Time for them to retool, man.
The thing about
they're hanging on by a thread, and I think without Hero, they're done.
I don't think Miami could blow it up. Nothing they could really blow it. They just going to be trash.
I think they would have to get rid of Butler, maybe even Bam Adebayo and Hero. Get rid of.
I don't know what you're getting unless you just trade them for first round draft picks. I mean, I'm not really.
That's what I'm saying. I think that team is gone as far as it's going to go. Yeah. And
I think they hit their ceiling in 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they just don't have much to work with. Besides,
I was saying, but I don't see it's too much to even trade. I can't see Jimmy Butler just going anywhere. So he would have to say, "Yo, I want to." I don't think he's even. I think he's under contract too. I don't think he's.
I think he should go to Philadelphia for Tobias Harris.
That's not happening.
I just think with that
happened
team,
once before, the other way around.
There's enough people in this league, GMs, coaches, that will look at a Bam, look at a Hero, look at a Jimmy Butler, especially with Jimmy's resume as going to teams,
especially with Bam still being young.
Yeah, that will be like that's the missing piece.
Hero's young too, but he's no all-star. He's never going to be.
If you can get a haul for Rudy Gobert, I'm not saying that's what you're going to get, but you can convince a team to give you a decent amount of assets who are kind of like on that border for a Jimmy Butler or Bam. I believe there's a team out there that'd be willing that thinks in their head, whether it's true or not, that Jimmy Butler got the Heat to a finals and Jimmy Butler helped the Minnesota Timberwolves break a playoff drought, and that they would make a deal for him or a Bam or a Hero. I think they could do it. I think they could put off.
Right. So got one more. Well, we actually have a few more topics, but I want to ask you guys this one, and I don't know who put this one in here. This is what's wrong with having an open script. We could have people like off the street putting in our talking points. So it might be Booney, it might be Cam, I don't know. But anyway, it says, what young NBA player will have the biggest playoff moment this year? Now, there's been already a handful. Edwards last night, De'Aaron Fox, game one, Malik Monk, maybe game one. Who else? Whom I forget? What's this? Darius
Garland played really well.
Right. And
the other night, really well.
Two, that was game two, right?
Yeah, when they won.
Yeah. Anybody else? Am I missing? So the question is there going to be one guy who's going to have, like, I guess, a defining moment above and everybody else? I mean, I think Fox right now has the lead in that department, and the one guy quickly comes to mind for me that hasn't done it yet but might is Maxey.
Yeah. I don't know. Maxey always, I don't know, he's like a weird, he only plays good, honestly, when Harden's on the court. Honestly, when he has to lead the second unit, he doesn't play necessarily well. I feel like he needs Harden. I don't know Maxey could be a second option yet, but I definitely think it would be his coming out party. But Maxey always plays well. I think Maxey's like the Sixers' second leading scorer, so he always necessarily play well. I think the system make him play well by having just get the ball and score. I think Austin Reeves can make a lot of money based off his performance with the Lakers, definitely in the first round. People might look at him as a guy they might want on 18, the same way people looked at Gordon Hayward that one year. He did good. So I think
I don't think he's near Gordon Hayward's talent, but yeah, I hear you. Another guy who started to warm up last night, but still hasn't had a huge game is Michael Porter Jr. He's capable of putting up 30, 35, in a game. God, I'd love to watch him. I know sometimes he's a goof off and does some really dumb things, but he's so pretty to watch. I mean, to watch that large 6'10" body come off the screens and just rise up. Phew, I get a kick out of that.
I think he's their X factor. If he can be a consistent third, like a legitimate third option, a la like a Klay Thompson when you had, Curry and Durant, he could be. This team is legit. I mean, you have three guys that can give you 30 any given night. I don't know if Porter's dialed in. When he's dialed in, he can give you 30. When he's not, you said, Rich, he's kind of all over the place. But I mean, what more do you want from 6'10", space the court, fluid athlete?
Yep, I agree. All right, so the next topic, and this might be quick. I was going to talk about the end of the season awards and just get you guys' opinion. Are you okay with Mike Brown winning Coach of the Year and Jaren Jackson winning Defensive Player of the Year? You guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm fine with both.
Yeah, I'm good with both. I think Jaren Jackson's deserving. Just look at the statistical profile, and I'm not the biggest Jaren Jackson guy, but he was a big piece. I think they were a top 5 defense throughout the year, and he's a big catalyst for that. And Ja's not a defensive stopper. And I like Mike Brown, man. I saw a tweet from Warriors fans saying like, "Oh, we collectively don't like Mike Brown," and I'm like, I think Mike Brown very much so deserves this. Even as a Warriors fan, I don't care that he's kicking the crap out of us right now. He did a hell of a job.
The playoffs right now. The playoffs are kind of even backing it up, backing that selection up too. And
I don't know.
And how about Jaren Jackson staying out of foul trouble? Who would have thunk it? Yeah. So that's been crazy.
Malcolm Brogdon, Rich, just got announced as 6th Man of the Year. Just as a heads up. I think it just came out like a couple minutes ago.
Anyone have an issue with that one?
Yeah, because he won it already, but I guess. I thought he won. Matter of fact, did he win? Yeah, he won already, right?
Did he?
He was rookie of the year.
That's right. He was rookie.
But he was rookie of the year. Embiid's rookie year technically.
Yeah, it was rookie of the year, not 16. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm good with it. I think he has helped put the Celtics kind of over the top.
Is he the sixth man, or is White the sixth man?
No, White starts, I believe.
Yeah,
He starts.
I
so.
think it.
Yeah,
it
because
might be
you
one
have
of
to
those
have
situations.
you have to start like you have to come off the bench something like 75% of your games or something like that.
I think it's over. I think now it's over 60% of your games. I think have to be off the bench.
Oh,
it might be 70. It might be. I thought it was 60. That might be a different award I'm thinking of. But
yeah,
it's over half. Well over half your games.
Yeah,
you have to come off
it's
the
definitely
bench.
well over half. So let's look at our playoff predictions and our playoff contest. Obviously, nobody has any points yet, but I would say Booney right now is probably in the most precarious spot, having the Warriors as the NBA champ. Everybody else, I think, is in pretty good shape. With our 14 picks, I don't know. It's probably too early to say. Those of us who have the Warriors, which is three of the five. Cam, this is definitely Cam. Cam's been in our script. I feel violated, Drew. He put his picks in here too. So wow. Yeah.
I love you, Cam.
And so yeah, he put his picks in here too. All right. So by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but I had a source last night. Before we move on to mailbag, I'll just drop this little note. I was talking in the previous episode with Jake about how funny tweets can be. You know, you could tweet something really important and like 40 people see it, and then you could tweet something you don't even like give a second thought to, and before you know it, you know, it's 40,000 people have seen it, and you have like 25 nasty comments in your notification box, which happened to me when I tweeted something about Alabama basketball, which all I said was, I don't know when basketball is going to be, or Alabama basketball is going to be relevant again. Doc, by the way, has to run. I'm sorry, Doc. I guess Drew and I will finish up these last two mailbag questions. But yeah, sorry you had to run.
Right on, Doc.
Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your weekend.
Yeah, you too. And yeah, we'll do this again next week. Sorry you got to run, but we're almost done anyway.
See ya.
All right,
Doc.
all right, buddy. All right, so we got two mailbag questions. One from Lou, who asked just starting to get into sports betting, and there's some really interesting pop picking in the final special. So this is to win it all. I don't know if these odds have changed, but he said the Kings have had a really good season, and they seem to have favorable odds. Am I crazy on betting them to make the finals against the Celtics at plus 3,300? So that means he would bet $100 to win $330. It's like 33 to 1.
Yeah.
So he's picking the exact finals, or the Sixers and the Kings at plus 700. Well, I would never do that.
Yeah.
I did. My feeling is, no matter how good the odds are, if you really don't believe there's a good chance it's going to happen. Now,
You're
typically,
throwing money away.
Right. So typically, like when I looked at the odds this year to see for the finals before the playoffs started, I looked at three teams, or actually four teams I thought could win it all: Sixers, Denver, Boston, and Milwaukee. And that's the reverse order that I liked them. And so Milwaukee was like 2 to 1, and Boston was like 3 to 1, and maybe the Sixers were like, I don't know, 7 to 1 or something. Denver was 10 to 1. So now I didn't pick Denver to win the championship, but I did pick them to be there. And look what happened with Giannis last night. What's to say that maybe Giannis, I don't know, maybe this turns out to be problematic. So maybe my Nuggets do win. And so, yeah, I did put a bet on him at 10 to 1, but I wouldn't bet on, just because the odds are big. I wouldn't put a bet down.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think in professional sports you can bet on a team that no matter how good they had looked in the regular season, how good they've looked now, that's never been there and has 0 players on the roster that have really been there. That 0 high impact players. Harrison Barnes has been in the finals, but the Kings don't go as Harrison Barnes goes. They go as De'Aaron Fox and Zamontis Sabonis. I just think that's malpractice. I mean, it's the same reason why in March Madness you don't pick all the number 1 seeds to go, or you don't pick the team that there's just other ways. You don't pick a team of all freshmen to go. There's outside factors that come into play, and I just can't see the Kings, tearing through the entire Western Conference with going from 0 playoff experience to NBA Finals run right away.
Well, I actually wouldn't be shocked if they won the West, but I would be shocked if they beat whoever the East.
Exactly. Yes. I think the way, after having looked at the way it's looking, and obviously there's a lot of basketball, the Warriors are not done. We all know that series don't start until the home team loses. That's the old saying in basketball. Once the home team loses. But I go could the Kings come out of the West? Sure. But the way it looks, it's going to be Kings, Nuggets, probably I would say Bucks, Celtics, but that depends on how Giannis comes back. But I mean, that could change tomorrow. Like I said, also we find out Kawhi's might not playing. That series just takes a huge turn.
Right.
I mean,
right now, I mean, I think the Lakers and Memphis looks like a toss-up. I think Golden State's definitely in a precarious spot, and I now think the Clippers are in a precarious spot. So a lot of things I was thinking have already changed because of injuries.
Yeah.
All right, so now it says Cam ask. Yes, we know Cam. You've been all over this script. Your fingerprints are all over it. If you had the frozen envelope, what NBA lottery team would you choose to win the Wembanyama draft lottery? Do you know what he means by that?
Yeah, so he's saying if we basically could pick, the frozen envelope scandal of the Patrick Ewing draft. He's basically saying if we could influence if we could pick, where would Wembanyama go? Where would we want him to go?
Oh, they can't go to my Sixers.
So I'm thinking, I mean, I would say maybe to keep it so it's not the entire, maybe just the teams with a 10% or better odd.
Okay, so
that would be Portland.
Okay.
It'd be Portland, Charlotte. So Portland's is 10% chance. Charlotte's got a 12%, and then San Antonio, Houston, Detroit are all tied at 14. So those would be the top. Those teams are projected to be the top 5. So all of those teams have a 10% or better chance of landing Wembanyama.
Well, I know my answer. Yeah. San Antonio. I want Pop to develop it again.
San Antonio, without a doubt. I think I look at Wembanyama. He's a very unique talent, and track record wise, we have seen out of all those programs or teams, the only one that has proven, in my mind, that even if Pop's not there, that they can draft and develop, and that's San Antonio. I think Detroit is. They've got Wiseman. I mean, they take him. Obviously, they get him. I'm not saying they wouldn't take him, but I feel like Detroit might be kind of a messy fit. There's not enough around him, and I feel like sometimes the danger of these really good young players going to these teams where everyone is young is that their development gets slowed and or kind of capped. I think that's what we see with Orlando is they've got so many young guys that it's who plays over who. There's no one to show.
It's kind of like an advanced G League Ignite team.
It's the blind leading the blind.
The Ignite can never win in the G League because nobody has any experience.
Exactly. So I think for me, it'd be San Antonio. Now, if it was the entire lottery, which changes because you have the teams that got knocked out of the play-in, I think an Oklahoma City would be really fun. I think if he went there because they have a 1.5% chance.
And Chet on the same floor.
I just think it'd be kind of fun. It would be fun to kind of see this is new. You want to talk about positionless new age basketball? You got a bunch of thin guys running around.
Think he'd be fun with LaMelo?
I think he could be fun with LaMelo. I think he'd be fun there with LaMelo because he'd have somebody to kind of facilitate for him. I think there's a lot of good teams. I think Indiana, if they landed him, I think they'd instantly become more relevant. You've already got Halliburton. So if Cam's asking out of anybody in the lottery, it gets more interesting. But I think for fairness sake, I would probably only pick out the top 5 because of the odds. And I would definitely say San Antonio out of the top 5.
Okay. Good. All right. Well, good questions this week. And Cam, thank you for contributing to our script. That was much appreciated. And I didn't realize it was you. Everyone was like, I didn't write that. If you'd like to send us a question, please email it to admin@hoopsprospects.com. We also take questions via social media on Twitter @hoopsprospects, on Instagram @thehoopsprospects, on Facebook @hoopspros. And if you ever miss an episode, you can get caught up at hoopsprospects.com. As always, I want to thank our listeners. I want to thank our special guests. And we had 3 of them today: Justyn Mutts from Virginia Tech, Jonathan Pierre from Memphis, and Jordan Allen of Rising Star Scouts. And I appreciate all of them joining us. We'll be back next week with another special guest, and it's looking like it's going to be one of the stars from Florida Atlantic Final Four team. And we'll talk more college hoops, talk more NBA playoffs, and the NBA draft. Any final thoughts, Drew?
God, if you're there, please let my Warriors win tonight.
Yes,
because they're gonna burn San Francisco to the ground if they don't.
Yeah,
all joking aside,
not to mention it's going to burn. It's going to burn your and I playoff predictions to the ground.
I mean, look, I really don't think they're as dead. I mean, they look more dead than they are. As bad as they've been, both of those games were very winnable late. So, I mean, if you're going to tell me that we're going to turn the ball over 20 plus times, commit 26 fouls, and give up 12 offensive rebounds and lose 106-114 on the road, I've had to feel kind of good. I hope all those listening, I'm not trying to be some crazy, like, no foul calls. It's not fair. I just personally think that if you have 100 fouls called in,
excuse me, I got a little
called in 2 games, 100 fouls in 2 games, I think, I'm not saying the refs are dictating, I'm not saying it's fixed, but that's a lot of foul calling. And if you're going to call them, at least call them consistent on both ends. But that's enough of my soapbox.
Wait till you're my age and you become totally jaded. You kind of lose that Homer edge, you know?
I mean, hey, I was already getting into it with people on Twitter the other day, kind of. I let it go because my girlfriend was like, I can't get in trouble, but I was already getting into it.
Did I finish my story about my tweet?
Yeah, it was about the Alabama one?
No. But I had a whole point to this. Last night, I actually tweeted something that was really important. A source, a really reliable source, told me it was doubtful that Giannis was going to play. Okay.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So I have this tweet about Alabama. Alabama's future kind of looks bleak, and everyone reacts to it. I tweet out Giannis basically probably won't play tonight. Which you would think would interest thousands, maybe millions, and it was like seen 400 times.
I guess Roll Tide? Question mark? Roll. I mean, those Roll Tide.
I should have put like hashtag Nate Oates or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. On that note, we'll get out of here. Good seeing you again, Drew.
Absolutely.